welcome along everybody. We are back for more 100% ALR action, and we are here in Suzuka tonight, and we're just about getting ready to get ourselves going on the track, that is, and we'll be underway for the qualifying format very, very soon indeed. Oh, you can hear myself through the speakers. Bear with me 1 second. I will need to try and sort that out. Perfect stuff. That is much better now indeed. You can't hear me my horrible voice coming through your speakers twice, but we are ready. Here we are in Suzuka, like I said, round 17 of the season, and like I said, we're going into break week, of course, in a week's time, well, next week. So this is the final race before the final break week as well of the season. That's the same for all the divisions in ALR as well this week, or next week I should say. This is the last race of this week, and then we're going to miss next one because of course it's the Easter break, and then we'll be back for the action later on, as I'm not quite sure what's happened to Serious Mushroom there. He seems to be flying off the circuit there. So all you need to do there is just retire in the pits, and yeah, so we'll have to wait and see who's the next driver to come out of the pits. It is Martin in the Alfa Romeo. Good stuff indeed. But like I was saying, so yeah, like I was saying, this is the 17th round before the final break week of the season. Next week is the break week, and yeah, and then there will be 7 more. I think it's 7 more rounds left of the season once we get that last break week out of the way next week as well. So of course the Easter break next week will be the last break week of the ALR season, this season anyway, and then we'll be back underway for the restart of this race, restart of the season I should say, from round 18 in 2 weeks time, then from 2 weeks time there for ALR 100% of course, but it will be in less than 2 weeks, a week and a half or so, for the gold drivers on Sunday, the silver drivers on the Monday, and then the bronze drivers, who did a great job yesterday, I might say, as well, in Singapore last night, with a fantastic race in a bit of a stormy Singapore as well. It was great stuff indeed there from the bronze drivers last night. So yeah, go back and watch that one as well after this one. Of course, this is going to be the main event for tonight. Even Neil from Serious Mushroom. Serious Mushroom needs to stop disqualifying himself. He just needs to retire in the pit lane. Otherwise, he will face penalties in the future. So, yeah, just so he's aware of that. But good stuff indeed. So, right, we're going to have a go, I think, with the Alfa Romeo of Martin there to take us through the flying lap, or the first flying lap of the Japanese Grand Prix. He seems to be slowing down a little bit, though, going through 130R, which is a very fast-paced corner indeed. And used to be one that you could go side by side through, and not so much these days, is it? But nonetheless, we'll see what Martin can do now as he sets off on his first outing, and now down towards the main straight. DRS, of course, is available. There's only one DRS zone around the Suzuka circuit, and that is down this straight here, the main straight, and you have the detection point just before the triangle chicane there, the final couple of corners of the circuit as well. So that is that. So there we go. So like I said, we've got the Alfa Romeo that on track, and he's taking us away through the first sector one, which is of course very complex corners as well, and these curbs these days, especially on this game, is very treacherous indeed. So he's managed to negotiate that very nicely done indeed for the Alfa Romeo driver. And now into sector 2 we go. Purple, of course, sector 1, because of course he's the first driver on track to set a lap in anger on that curb as well. That is very easy to, that curb spits you out, doesn't it? So he looks like he almost rotated the car over that curb as well. ACM Auto has retired in the pits, as has I think somebody else as well. So it doesn't look like many people are very serious about taking part in qualifying in this event, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. We'll have less to talk about in this event, but we will hopefully have something to talk about in the race itself, which is going to be 53 laps, I think it is, or 52 or 53 laps, I can't remember exactly. It's 27 laps in a 50% race, so I would assume that it is 53 I think is the full event, as KD as well is retired in the pits as well. So that is qualifying pretty much done and dusted there. We don't have to worry about doing anything in this qualifying session, so I could probably just shut up shop for 13 minutes and just let you watch what is going on track, because there's no need for me here. But there we go. Martin there will come across the line there, hopefully to finish off his first flying lap. There he goes up into P1, of course, with a 31.980 there for the Alfa Romeo outfit. His teammate is a bit far back. We'll have a look at his the next rival of Kiki. Kiki goes fastest still with a 30.8 there, puts himself almost a second over ahead of Martin there. Good stuff indeed from him. And Kydell there puts in a 30.2 there, so that is good news indeed for the McLaren driver, of course, returning tonight. Hopefully he can get himself back on the podium places. Here comes Beat up to the line. He goes P4. He slots himself in behind his teammate there, so it's an Alfa Romeo second row, and that is that there for the time being. Siege is the only other driver out on track. I think that's pretty much qualifying, like I said, done and dusted, because there's 12 minutes left. But there is, like I said, most of the grid is out, so that is it, done and dusted. There we go, problem solved. Right, so that is like I said, that is our pretty much our qualifying done and dusted. I've got 12 minutes to try and muster up something or other. We'll have to have a look and see what Bannister's up to. I think there's a yellow flag there for Bannister. Hopefully he's got the car pointing in the right direction. He has done, and he's got himself round the Casio triangle, all the triangle chicane, whichever one you want to call it, and now up to the line for Bannister. Puts himself P3 there, so splits the Alfa Romeo group, splits them off the front of the second row, that is. He's up into P3 there, onto the second row of the grid. There is the Alpine driver. Good stuff indeed from him. That, I think, is pretty much it. Now done and dusted. Now Reflection is out on track, but Reflection is one of the favourites, of course, to not set a lap time either in qualifying, so I'm not quite sure if he's just setting his sights. We've still got 11 minutes to go, but like I said, Vintage, Chewy, Vessier and Acid Master still in the pit lane for the time being. Siege there starting his lap now down towards turn 1 and turn 2, the braking zone. It sort of combines into one braking zone, doesn't it? So it's quite difficult to get it right sometimes, as he's negotiated it very nicely done indeed for the Williams driver, now coming through the S's of Sector 1, and once again making sure you don't go on that curb, because those curbs will again throw you off into the distance, and then that'll be bad news bears for you. But nonetheless, Siege there negotiating it very nicely indeed as well. Let's see if he goes purple. He goes purple in Sector 1. That is looking promising for the Williams driver. Good stuff indeed there from Siege. Let's see what he can do now as he comes down towards the next hairpin at the next challenging corner, and making sure he gets that right and spot on indeed there for the Williams outfit. Good stuff indeed as well. Now down towards the spoon curve, and then he'll be heading down towards 130R and the Casio triangle to finish off the lap as well. I think we might be on for here for a pole lap there from Siege as well. So we might see what Siege can do. Can he get himself on the pole position? Can he rival Kydell's time of a 30.252? It could be close indeed. Again, purple in Sector 2. This is looking promising indeed there for the Williams driver, and hoping that Williams can get themselves on the top step for another challenge. It looks like they're both the golden oldies in terms of the teams. That is Williams there. Williams is on top there with the 30.220 there. Only 30 thousandths off of Kydell there, but he's improved there to take that P1 spot at the moment. Good stuff indeed. So yeah, like I said, the golden oldies, the Williams and the McLaren there, looking at trying to secure the front row of the grid for this Japanese Grand Prix, which is very nice indeed. Alfa Romeo up there as well, as is Ferrari and Alpine. Although Alpine, of course, is the newest team to the outfit technically, although they have got the Renault backing. But there we go. Acid Masters is out on track there. He's got himself out of the pit lane. The same for Chewy and Vessier as well. Good stuff indeed. And I'm not sure what Vintage in Reflection is up to. Reflection did have an outlap, but he went back to the pit lane, didn't he? So they decided to call it a day there on his attempts at qualifying here in Suzuka. But there we go. Yellow flags for Vessier. Vessier, yes, off the circuit in Sector 1. He's got to get that car spun around. He has done, but yeah, he's just letting the McLaren go through of Kydell, I think. So yeah, that is unfortunately for Vessier. He's on an outlap though, so he's not got to worry too much. He's not had to abandon his lap time just yet. We'll have a look on board with Acid Masters there to see what lap time he's going to be doing in that Red Bull as well. Very quick indeed on his day is Acid Masters as well, down into turn 1 and now turn 2. I had the pleasure of sitting at turn 2 in 2018 there, wasn't it? 2018 there, I went to see the Japanese Grand Prix, and it was absolutely fantastic indeed, although it did rain a bit. But we saw some classic cars and stuff like that as well on the track. So yeah, it was good stuff indeed. Watching from the grandstands of turns 1, 2, and 3. It sort of is. It all goes wrapped around that complex of corners, and yeah, very nice indeed. Very good spot to go and watch some Formula 1 if you're interested in Formula 1. Which hopefully, if you're watching the stream, if you're about, you have been interested in Formula 1, or you are interested in Formula 1 at some stage in your life. And yeah, unfortunately for some, unfortunately for people who know me, I'm still invested in Formula 1, as you might be able to tell. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But there you go. Acid Masters now coming down towards the spoon curve. Alex will be the to my eye. Very nice indeed. Yes, of course I will. Yes, always. And then yeah, Mushroom is being naughty for DSQing. So there we go. So that is good stuff indeed. Now let's have a look and see what the Red Bull driver can do now as he comes across to start Sector 3. He's not gone purple. We usually use that as an indicator, doesn't it? I'm not quite sure if the I'm not quite sure actually, to be fair, what the purple means, because if you go purple, it doesn't mean if you're technically faster than the P1 position. You're faster than P6, I think it is, or whoever is the person ahead of you set a time. But Acid Master does set a time on the board. He's done a 30.888, and that is good enough for the time being of P5. We have got, I think it's Vessia who's on track now. He's on a lap as he comes through Sector 1. He's managed to negotiate this one much better than his out lap, and that is good stuff indeed for the Red Bull outfit. Both the Red Bulls now have tried, or almost going to get their get the 2 lap times on the board so that we can see what they can do later on in this race. Just the, I think that's Haas, is it? Haas just getting out of the way there. Chewy has set a time there of a 31.881 as well, so that puts himself P8 for the time being, and that will be good enough for the Haas to get himself in the top 10, I think, because the likes of Vintage and Reflection yet to come out the pits, and if Vessia does beat Chewy's time, then that will demote Chewy down to P9, but he will still be in the top 10, because that is how the numbers work. Reflection has retired in the pit lane, so that is him done and dusted as well. So there we go, good stuff indeed. Very entertaining stuff indeed, as you can't park there, sir, says Pillbeam. Good stuff indeed. Kyle goes even faster. He's improved to a 29. He's the only driver so far in the 29s as well. 29.840 for the McLaren driver. Great stuff indeed there for him. And looking like he's trying to lock out that pole position, isn't he? I think he might be a bit cheeky there, trying to take it off Siege for the time being. Vessia without a good setup. I think he said he's had a problem with his setups. Well, it seems like everyone's had a problem with their setups, to be fair, because the time trial leaderboards are down, and I don't know how I'm going to get any setups for my races from now on, because I'm going to be utterly useless. But Vessia there has, even if he has got a useless setup, he's got himself up into P4 with on merit, that is, and with great pace indeed. So good stuff there from the Red Bull driver up onto the second row of the grid. Kydell, like I said, is trying to lock out that P1 position there ahead of Siege, but it seems to be a bit quiet and out on track. Of just Vessia and Kydell coming back into the pits, I think, on their in laps now, and we might have a bit of a lull there before we get the last few runners out for an actual attempt there at the final pole position. We'll have to wait and see. Currently, Kydell there on pole, and then we've got Siege there on the front row still. Yellow flags for Kydell there, as he had a problem there coming up the spoon curve on his in lap somehow as well, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but he's pushing a bit too hard on that in lap, I would say, but he's got himself back underway, so good stuff indeed. But there we go then. That is the order as it stands at the moment. Like I said, we've got just less than 5 minutes there to go before we get the actual race underway. Hungry Stars has predicted a mushroom podium tonight, so that is what you've got to look out for on the cards. Mushroom, like I said, down in the back of the grid, but like I said, hopefully he can get himself back up the order in the race. He would need to if he wants to finish on the podium, that is, anyway. So of course we saw Mushroom there finish. I think he got P2, didn't he? No, where did he finish? He finished very high up recently. I can't remember exactly what race it was, but you have to remind me in the comment section, Mushroom. But you finished on the podium, didn't you, very recently? I can't remember exactly what race it was, but it was a very good race indeed from yourself. I think, was it last week in Australia, or was it in Bronze? I can't remember at all. Sorry about that. My memory has been fried. But there we go. So there we go. That is that. Bannister now out on track there, on and out lap. Same for Chewy as well. So both the Alpine and the Haas on track now for a bit of entertainment at least. Vintage has got himself onto the track as well in the Williams as well. So that is a couple of more drivers there getting themselves at least onto the track. Unfortunately for Vintage, he's only got one. Well, I'm guessing he's only going to have about one attempt there for a flying lap in anger, that is, because he's not set a time just yet compared to the other drivers who are out on track as well. And of course he's got less time there to try and get himself back round as well. So he's got 3 minutes or so. I think that's enough for an out lap and a flying lap. Potentially, if he's got enough ERS and fuel on board, he could do 2 flying laps back to back, but we'll find out. P2 in Australia, says Mushroom. That was the one. I completely forgot about it. Well, I didn't forget about it because I knew it was there in the back of my head, but somewhere it was there. And now that I've been reminded, I of course remember it was a fantastic race once again. So like I said, the Haas driver has been predicted to get himself back on the podium. So we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds in this Japanese Grand Prix. Of course, it's like I said, a bit of a it seems to be a race of attrition every week, doesn't it, for 100%? But which it definitely is indeed. but I think this circuit, especially the sector 1, is quite easy to make a mistake, isn't it? So we might see a few drivers there pushing a bit too hard, and I think the consistency of the drivers like Serious Mushroom there show that you don't need to push as hard, especially in 100% leagues, because because like I said, you can then make up the places from others making mistakes, and that is how Serious Mushroom has done a great job in his F1 career, I would say, because he's kept it clean and consistent in all the races he's raced in as well. Don't remember actually seeing Serious Mushroom involved in a report ever in my time. That is one hell of an award, an accolade for any driver, I would say, as well, because just as much as you want to be fast, I think you also, well, you should pride yourself on being clean as well. So there we go. That is my opinion. I'm just rambling on here at the moment, but there we go. Good stuff indeed. As here comes Chewy now round the spoon cover. Unfortunately for Bannister, he invalidated his lap time. Let's see if he can get enough, or save enough ERS and fuel to go back around. Once again, he's still got time to cross the line and go again if he has. Here comes Chewy now round towards the top of the hill, because of course this is a bit of an undulating circuit. Of course, you start off down the bottom of the hill and then you come up the hill and then go back down as we come around 130R into the Casio triangle for the Haas driver. And let's have a look and see what time it's going to be there for Chewy there in P9 currently. Let's see what he improves to. He improves by a tenth there, but not enough to gain a position there on Martin. Unfortunately for Chewy, stays P9 for the time being. So that is that for the Haas outfit, unless he's got enough fuel and ERS to go again. Of course, he's still got time there to set a lap time on the board. Now Vintage will come back to Vintage there, because here he comes there through 130R there on his only flying lap attempt, I would say, unless he likes that fuel light is already flashing, so I don't think he's got enough fuel there to go around again, back-to-back laps that would be. But here he comes there up to the line. What can he do in the Williams car? Let's see. Up to the line, it is a P7 there for Vintage. Good stuff indeed there from the Williams driver up into P7 there with a 30.903. Good stuff indeed, as Acid Masters and Bannister are back in the pits. So Bannister couldn't go again. He didn't have enough fuel on board there to go again, unfortunately, for the Alpine outfit, and he is down in P8. It's going to be no better than P8 in this qualifying, unfortunately for him. Hopefully he won't be usurped there by Martin. Chewy, I don't think, is on another lap. He's done and dusted his Chewy, unfortunately, in this qualifying already as well. So that is Chewy's qualifying done and dusted in this event. And let's have a look further up the order. We have got an Alfa Romeo of Beat there up to the line. What can he do here in the Alfa? It is an improvement, I think, by a couple of tenths there, but he stays P3. Oh no, he's just starting a lap there. That's why I got that completely wrong there. Here comes Kydell. Kydell is on a lap though, and here he comes there in the McLaren there. What can he do? Can he improve on his time? He has improved by almost 0.3 of a second there. 29.529 there, comfortably on pole position as it stands, that is. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see what Siege, what the Alfa Romeo of Beat can do as well, and Vessia might be in with a shout as well. We don't know just yet, so it's still a bit to play for there. Vintage, I think, is coming back to the pit lane, so he's completed his lap there. He's going to come back in. Same for Chewy. Chewy is back in the pit lane. Here comes Siege, though. Siege in the Williams is going to be the next to cross the line. I think, no, it's Martin, isn't it? Martin coming around the Casio triangle. Here he comes now down the hill towards the end of the lap later. What can he do? Up to the line. He has improved. He's overtaken Bannister as well. Up into P8. There goes the Alfa Romeo driver, usurping the Alpine there for P8 as well, and that is him done and dusted in qualifying. Good stuff indeed from him. Vintage, I think, is coming back to the pit lane. I think he's been passed by Siege. Let's see what Siege can do as he comes across the line. It's a 29.952 there. He puts himself P2, and I think he's cemented that P2 position, unless the Alfa Romeo Beat can improve by over 0.4 of a second. It's going to be close indeed. And he's got his ERS light flash, and Kiki there goes up to P3 there for the time being with a 30.2 as well. Can the Alfa Romeo there? Vessia is back in the pit lane. He's abandoned his lap time, unfortunately for Vessia. That is not good news. He stays P5. Here comes the Alfa Romeo though up to the line. What can he do as well now? Can he finish himself? Can he finish ahead of the Ferrari? But no, he can't. He has to abandon his lap time. I think he was going very slowly there, as we saw at the end of that lap. So unfortunately, the Alfa Romeo stays P4. And that is your qualifying done and dusted. Alex has cursed me, and I hope not. I know it's commentators curse and all that, but I don't think, well, I'm hoping that it's not my fault. Anyway, Kaido there is your pole sitter there for the Japanese Grand Prix that's coming up in about a minute's time. Siege there in P2, Kiki in P3, Beat there P4, Vessia in P5, Acid Masters in the Red Bull as well in P6. So that is a Red Bull third row. Williams of Vintage in P7, Martin in P8 in the Alfa Romeo, Bannister in P9 in the Alpine, and Chewy makes up your top 10 in the Haas. Immortal, KD, Styles, Danny, Dan Murphy, Reflection, Serious Mushroom didn't get time in, so there we go. Don't care about them. Good stuff indeed. Right then, the race is ready to get going. We'll be underway very, very soon indeed. So, like I said, just waiting for the drivers now to sort out their strategies. They'll sort out their strategies, they'll sort out their fuel levels, and everything else. Everything else is going to be nice and perfect. And then we'll be ready to get ourselves underway for the formation lap and then the race itself. So, looking forward to seeing this one get going very soon. And we'll be ready to crack on for the race now in just a jiffy. Like I said, the qualifying last was a bit of a damp squib, as we got is very overcast here in Japan. It doesn't seem to be raining, thankfully, but I don't know if that's going to be potential rain on the cards in this race. We'll have to find out. We didn't get a weather report, did we? Unfortunately, in the session, but nonetheless, it's looking pretty overcast, pretty cloudy there in the around the Suzuka circuit. At least you can see the Ferris wheel there on the right hand side, which is looking very nice indeed. But there we go. Like I said, the drivers, they're getting themselves ready there for the start of this race, and we'll be able to crack on for the for round 17 of the season, which of course is going to be 53 laps. I think it's 53 laps. I might be wrong. I'll have to find out in just a moment. But 53 laps, I will say, for the time being, of the Japanese Grand Prix. Right then, we've got ourselves, it is 53 laps, I guessed correctly. Great maths there by myself. But we have got 53 laps there of the Japanese Grand Prix coming up for you very shortly. The formation lap is now underway, so the drivers, they're just cruising themselves around the circuit, getting their tyres warmed up, and we'll be ready to get ourselves going. I did learn the other day, actually, that tyre wear does actually reflect in the race, from the race start, I should say, when you do your formation lap. So obviously any tyre wear you do pick up in the formation lap does count to the start of your race, which I didn't think actually happened on previous games, but it does turn out, well, actually it's very realistic in that sense, that it does actually make a difference in the game as well now, because of course, like I said, it didn't used to. So now, of course, the tyre wear does come back to you in the start of the race, depending on how badly you warm up your tyres, or how many slums you spin on the formation lap, I should say, is really what I meant. But there we go. Then tyre compounds, we've got Serious Mushroom there from 17th there on the hard compound tyres. So very long stint there predicted for Serious Mushroom there in the first stint. Reflection, not so much though. Dan Murphy as well, and Danny in P16 to 14, all on the soft compound tyres as the McLaren, Aston Martin and Mercedes drivers. So they'll be looking to get some places, make up some places, I should say, on the first few laps. Then we've got Styles there on the hards in P13, KD on the hards in P12. And then AC Immortal there, like a championship leader there, down in P11 there, hasn't qualified. He's got his rival of KD right behind him as well, who is the next challenger. He's won the last two races as KD, so he's long form, and we might be battling with Immortal there later on in the first lap, I should say. Chewy there in P10 on the soft compound tyres, Bannister in P9 on the mediums, and then Martin as well on the medium compound tyres in P8. So only some drivers in the top 10 have decided to go for the mediums. Everybody else outside the top 10, they're either on the hards or the softs. Vintage on the hards as well in P7. He's the highest of the hard runners. Acid Masters in P6 on the soft compound tyres, and then his Vesio, his teammate on the third row for Red Bull, is on the medium compound tyres. Beat there on the softs in P4, looking for a fast start indeed for the Alfa Romeo outfit. Kiki on the medium compound tyres in P3. Siege on the mediums in P2, and your pole sitter of Kaidel in the McLaren on the medium compound tyres as well. Good stuff indeed. Right, we're ready to get going almost. Just sort of lining up on the grid. Hopefully I can get me voice out. Hopefully we'll get the red lights on very soon as well. I will see them in the top left corner. Fingers crossed, as I think we've got 5 red lights here on in Suzuka. 5 red lights are off in Suzuka, and away we go. Are we going? Yes, away we go there for the Japanese Grand Prix. A great start indeed there from Siege, and beat there on the soft compound tyres has got himself through. Same for Acid Masters. A great start indeed for the Red Bull driver. He's up into P3. Vessier up into P5. He's battling with his teammate there as they go wide there for the Williams of Vintage. I think it is. No, it's Siege. Siege has lost out on P2. I think he might have got a nudge there. There's a VSC, I think, deployed. A VSC has come out. I don't know what happened to Siege there. Did he just spin on his own? I'm pretty sure he might have had a helping hand, unfortunately, for Siege there. But he's not got any damage there to the car, which is good news indeed. He's got the no, is it just a yellow flag? It was gone already. We're carrying on in this race already. So great stuff indeed. Vessier there with a great start indeed as well. He's got himself up 2 positions, I think, 3 positions. I should say the Acid Masters as well. The Red Bull outfit have gained 3 positions each there on that opening sector 1, I should say. Great stuff indeed as well from them, from those drivers. Dan Murphy up into P10 there ahead of his teammate of KD. KD struggling there on the hard compound tyres to get them started. On the softs is Dan Murphy, and he's going to be much faster than his teammate of KD at this time in the race, that is. 5 positions they've gained for Immortal there on the hard compound tyres. So some of the drivers on the hards not having too much of a trouble there. It doesn't look like for the in terms of the championship leader anyway. He seems to be having a bit of a good time there on those hard compound tyres, despite the differences. Here comes Acid Masters though on his teammate. He's got the move done. There's a yellow flag in the background. It's Vintage. Styles is retired. And that's a VSC. I think that is a VSC called out now. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Vintage has dropped down to the back, but Vintage he hasn't got any damage there on the car, as far as I can tell anyway. And I'm not quite sure what happened to Styles there. He just disappeared off into the background at the exit of the spoon curve, it looks like. So unfortunately, that is 1 driver down already, and we've only done 1 lap. So that is brilliant stuff indeed. If that carries on, we're only going to have to do the 16 laps there tonight. We won't have any classifications there at the end of this race if this is that's how it's going to plan out. Exactly, I think it might be an example. They're pushing a bit too hard there on those curbs as well, and that is exactly what happens there if you push too hard through the curbs, especially through sector 1 as well. But we see through the spoon curve as well that it is. Oh wait. No, it is a VSC. Sorry, I thought Kaido was about to carry on there, but he has slowed down. The Delta, I think, was playing a bit of havoc there for the McLaren driver. He's now lost time there to his rivals of Acid Masters and Vessier as well on the medium compound tyres, but really going great guns indeed at the start of this race, looking good indeed in that Red Bull as well. Good stuff from Vessier, who's, like I said, struggling with a setup there, trying to find a setup, I think, at the beginning of this event, but he has got himself sorted now. Good stuff from both the Red Bull drivers. There did get a good start. I think he did actually gain some places there on some of the drivers around him, but he's lost out now, unfortunately. He stays in P4 for the time being. Kiki there was one of the drivers who's lost out, unfortunately, from P3 on the medium compound tyres. I think he's lost out to he's lost out to Beat and to Acid Masters, of course, who are on the softer compound as well. Immortal, they're up 5 places there from P11 there on the hard compound tyres. Martin in P7, they're looking good indeed. Dan Murphy's got himself past Chewy, has he, before the 130R. He's got the move done, has the Aston Martin driver up into P9 there. Chewy's clinging on to that P10 for the time being. DRS will be available, of course, on the next lap as we come through the Casio triangle once again. Acid Masters there sets the fastest lap of the race. Vessier's had a problem. I think he's been passed there by Beat there on the soft compound tyres there. I think the softs are going to be the optimum tyre right now. Of course, they're going to be much faster indeed than the mediums or the hard compound tyres as well. Sirius Mushroom's been passed by Siege as Siege gets himself back up the order. I'm not quite sure what happened to Siege as well. He went off at the first corner here. He was off on the outside. I'm not quite sure if there was a bit of contact there to push him off the track or not, but he has soldiered on, and Vintage as well soldiering on as well. I'm not quite sure what happened to Vintage as well. I'm not sure if he was involved with Styles or not, but there is that there. So he's managed to carry on there. Beat got himself past Vessier there up into P3 there, but Vessier there, that's like I said, just has to carry on those medium compound tyres that will come back to him on the mediums as well. So that is that there. Vessia there is now under pressure from Kiki. Kiki trying to gain those places back that he's lost from the start. Siege is the biggest loser, unfortunately. I'm not calling him a big loser, but he's unfortunately lost the most places on the first opening couple of laps. He's down 12 places there from P2, so hopefully he can get himself back in this race. We're down to 16 drivers, of course, like I said. So, of course, Styles out of this race before we completed the first lap, and he says that the curb, he didn't touch the curb, the car spun on its own, so I'm not sure how it's managed to do that. Hopefully, well, it's very odd indeed. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but hopefully you can clip it up and record it and tell Codemasters that they've done something wrong. Chewy has been passed there before the entrance to the Casio Triangle by KD. KD now up into the points paying position. It's good stuff indeed from KD on the hard compound tyres. Chewy dropping down in the order, but he's now got Reflection for a bit of company as well, and Danny is chasing through here as well. Here comes Reflection. They're using a lot of the ERS there to try and get themselves past or alongside the Haas, not even past the Haas at this stage as they go into turn 2 now. Chewy, they're leaving a room, but yeah, he's been passed. I think the McLaren has got himself through. He snuck his way through there on the soft compound tyres there. Chewy there, of course, on the soft compound tyres as well, I think, isn't he? So he's just trying to keep up now with the McLaren there and get himself through sector 1 unscathed. But like I said, it's a bit of a, well, we're using a lot of ERS there, was the McLaren driver, to get himself up into P11 there and chase after KD as well. So that is that there. Chewy unfortunately dropping down the order after starting up in the points, but we'll see what happens there for Chewy, because hopefully it will come back to him later on in this race, and we can see him get himself back up the order there for the final lap. That is, of course, that final lap is a bit far away for the time being. We've done 4 laps. We're on the 4th lap there of 53, as Danny has got past Chewy as well there on the exit of the hairpin there around towards the spoon curve. He's got himself up into P12 there. Has the Mercedes driver, of course, his first full-time drive, that is, after a very good display there in Australia in the last round last week, and he got a podium there for the Mercedes outfit in his first race. So that is looking good indeed there for Danny there as he gets himself up into P12 now. Siege is all over the back there of the Haas again. Once again, there's more pressure on Chewy. It seems like the pressure won't stop, will it? I think that's a song, isn't it? I'm not quite sure. If it is, I don't know who it's by, and I don't know any of the lyrics apart from the pressure is on. There we go, as here comes Siege now down towards the beginning of the main straight. He's got the DRS, and there's yellow flags. Not yellow flags, there's position changes all over the place. There's a Mortal Air and Kiki switching places there as we go through. I didn't quite see it there as we go over into sector 1. Oh, it's close indeed between the two of them, and that is Kiki. Has Kiki got him? He stays there in P6 there, does the Ferrari driver. He's had to yield there to the championship leader there of Immortal there. Good stuff indeed, a great move indeed as well. Martin has been passed there by Dan Murphy, and that, of course, Dan Murphy on the soft compound tyres there on the first stint. I think Martin might be on the soft as well. Yellow flag for KD. KD's off the circuit at the top of sector 1 there. Unfortunately for KD, it's an easy place to spin the car. We have seen that. I think we might see that in the next few laps as well, unfortunately for other drivers, but hopefully KD can get himself back underway. On the hard compound tyres, he's going to have to go long there in his first stint. Hopefully he hasn't cooked those hard compound tyres too much as well, so he can carry on those hards for the time being. But yeah, not good news there for KD. Hopefully he can get himself, like I said, I hope his tyres cool down and get himself back up underway in this race, and catch up to the back of the queue as well. We have seen the likes of Siege and Vintage do the same already so far in this race. They had difficult first few laps. Reflection and Bannister battling away as we go up the hill now towards 130R, but Bannister is already dropped down there to P10. He's lost out of place there from his starting position. We'll go to the tyre compounds, because that is what we want to see, and we want to see how fast the tyres are going to be at this stage of the race. And at the moment, the soft compound tyres are looking good indeed. We've had a few drivers there dropping down the order there on the hard compound tyres. Unfortunately for Vintage, he's I think he started in P7, then he's down into P15 for the time being, which is not good news. The same for his teammate Siege on the medium compound tyres. He's not had a good time there on the medium compound tyres so far, but hopefully he can get himself back in this race after starting in P2 as well on the front row of the grid. KD's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I'm not quite sure what's happened there for KD. Hopefully, I thought he was going to be alright. It seemed like he managed to get himself back underway quite quickly indeed as well, but he's gone into the pit lane there for a change onto the medium compound tyres now. So he's changing onto the mediums now, but a faster tyre, but he picked up a penalty there as well, which will have to be served at his next stop, or if he finishes the race on the medium compound tyres, which I don't think you'll be able to do. I'm not quite sure what the strategy is around here, but I'd say 50 well, 47 odd laps on the medium compound tyres around here would be one hell of a feat indeed. But nonetheless, Reflection putting the pressure back on the Alfa Romeo of Martin now. The soft compound tyre runners are still trying to get themselves through in some cases, where the likes of Dan Murphy, Reflection, Danny and Chewy as well trying to get themselves back up the order, well, further up the order I should say, in terms of using the soft compound tyres at their best at this stage of the race. Of course, there's only 5 or 6, 5.5 laps done on the soft compound tyre, so they're still going to be in an optimum. I would imagine they're still in an optimum window there for the speed and the grip as we go down around the outside before 130R. Reflection's got the move done. And there we go, then the McLaren up into P8 there. Martin dropping down the order there. But now I think Martin's going to have the DRS there to defend. Because I think, he's got off the circuit at the background. Siege is off the circuit there. He's got a 3-second penalty there for his troubles. But he's having to recover the car there, getting himself back underway. And Chewy might be interested in this. Is there going to be DRS available for Siege? I think he's going to use that there to try and defend there from Chewy. But yeah, unfortunately, we didn't see exactly what happened to Siege there. He went off the circuit, but he managed to get himself back on with he's got a 3-second penalty. Of course, that will can be reviewed after the race because I think we'll have to wait and see if there was a bit of a helping hand there pushing him off the circuit or not. But hopefully not in this case. But like I said, that is unfortunately for Siege. Picking up a penalty as well for his troubles going off the circuit there. I think again we've seen this game. As KD picks up another penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not quite sure what's going on there for KD. He seems to be having trouble there getting in the pits as he's gone back into the pit lane there once again. He'll have to serve his 5-second penalty this time as well. His first 5-second penalty, and now he's picked up another one, unfortunately, with KD. But hopefully, like I said, if there's a safety car or a VSC later on in this race, he can use that opportunity to pit and serve the penalty as well. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, KD can. He's on to another set of medium compound tyres, so I'm not quite sure what the strategy is here for the Aston Martin driver, but he's having a bit of trouble there sorting it out. He is coming back out of the pit lane now, but yeah, he's going to be a bit further down the order. Yeah, unfortunately for KD, not looking good at this stage of the race, but we'll see what he can do later on in this race. We've seen he's got the pace, of course, in the last 2 weeks, or last 2 races, to win the Grand Prix, so we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, if he turns it around and wins the Grand Prix, I think he gets one hell of a Driver of the Day award, doesn't he? That will be one hell of an award. I think we'll have to give him some sort of prize for Driver of the Day performance there. AC Immortal getting past Vessier there as we go into turn 1. He's gone wide, has the championship leader. Vessier keeps the position for the time being. Down the order. Immortal's off the circuit. He's had a spin. Has the AlphaTauri driver. He's got himself back underway, but he's losing positions now. Siege has come through. He's up into P12 there, and Immortal there has got himself back underway, thankfully. But yeah, I'm not quite sure if he was just pushing a bit too hard there, the championship leader, or there was I think there was any helping hand there. I think Vessier had the right to the position. He was ahead in the Red Bull was Vessier, but unfortunately for Immortal dropping down the order there, got to get himself back underway. And I think KD, like I said, has had his issues there. The last 2 race winner, last few race winners, I should say, is KD and Immortal, of course. So, like I said, they've both had their issues on the opening laps here in Suzuka. That it's showing to be a difficult circuit. So, like I was saying, in terms of the race of attrition, it's one hell of a one because of the sector 1 curbs and that sort of thing. And I think Immortal there has been caught out there by those curbs. KD has got himself back underway, thankfully. So. Hopefully he can get himself back round and get himself back in this race. He's a minute behind their Vintage, that is. But at the moment, there's no safety car so far. So, of course, if the safety car did come out, that would be good news for KD because he'd be able to catch up and he would be able to negate the gap that he's got there at the moment to Vintage and the rest of the pack as well. So it's not all doom and gloom just yet. He's still, of course, a very fast driver and he's got the pace there to get himself back in the order. We shall see. A bit of a last-to-wear challenge, I suppose you could see, from KD. We'll have to wait and see what he can do in this race, but the likes of Acid Masters is still sticking with Kydell. Kydell's had held the lead from the start as Danny and Martin switching places there into turn 1. Danny's got the move there up into P9 on those soft compound tyres. He's made the move up into the points now, has Danny. It was in the points there in P10, wasn't he? But he's made the move up into the points there as well from, I think it was P12 or 13 that he started. So good stuff indeed. But like I said, out in front, Kaidel's kept hold of that lead, even on the medium compound tyres compared to those runners on the softs behind him. He's kept hold of that lead, and he's done a great job indeed so far, has the McLaren driver. But I think Acid Masters might want to use the last bit of life there in those soft compound tyres to claim the lead in this race very soon indeed. And I think Beat there is hanging on to the back of these drivers very nicely indeed. They've got a 7-second gap there to Vessier, but Vessier is still doing a great job in this race, like I said, with his setup issues as well, and he's got himself up into P4. Kiki is right behind him as well. Dan Murphy is now caught up to the battle, but he's got quite a bit of a gap there to P7 there of Bannister now, so it's not all doom and gloom there should the runners of Kiki and Dan Murphy get themselves through. KD sets the fastest lap of the race. Round goes Kiki. Kiki at the spoon curves had a problem there. He's got himself back underway, I think, just about. He's letting the Alpine there and the McLaren of Reflection there through as well, unfortunately, well, involuntarily that is, but now he's back underway there. Can he keep himself within that 1 second window there of the McLaren to at least use the DRS there down the main straight? I think he's going to have to try and cling on to that. He has just about clung on to that, I should say, as now he's back in the train there with the head of the train being Bannister there in the Alpine, looking good indeed. It's Bannister there trying to get some good points there for the team, but here comes Reflection now. He's up into, where is he going? He's up into down the inside. Where is he going? He's all over the place. As now into turn 1 and 2 we go side by side, I think. Oh, it's going to be close indeed. No contact though, thankfully, but yeah, Bannister holds onto the position there just about ahead of the McLaren driver, and Kiki there slots himself back into P8. Unfortunately, Kiki running in P5 at the time before his spin, but he has lost out there to the likes of Dan Murphy, of course, was right behind him, and then Bannister and Reflection, who are a bit further back, but now he's back in the DRS train there for the remaining few, well, the next few laps, I should say, not the remaining few laps, because there's quite a few laps to go, isn't there? But so far so good there for most of the drivers. Unfortunately, there's a few people who've made some mistakes there, and it seems like the drivers with the most pace have had the mistakes, unfortunately, as well. It's been Immortal, Siege, and KD as well, and Vintage, of course. He's got the experience as Vintage, and unfortunately for Vintage, he's had a bit of a problem there. I think it was on the opening lap there for Vintage, but he's got himself back underway as well, which is good news indeed. Right then, out in front, we're on to, we're going to be finishing off lap 10, so that is 10 laps done out of the 53 that we've got to complete tonight. But Kaidel, they're still clinging on to the race lead at this stage. When will we see those soft compound tyres start to drop off? I think they might be coming into the twilight zone of their main, or their favourite era, I suppose you could say. As down the straight there, Kaidel, they're pulling off to the side there to try and avoid giving the slipstream there to the Red Bull. But it wasn't too dangerous in the end. Of course, he's still half a second there behind the race leader for the time being. Down the back of the order, or further down the order, I should say, not down the back of the order, because up into P6 now goes Reflection there, up into turn 1 there, ahead of the Alpine of Bannister now. So he's got himself a nice position there on the soft compound tyres there. Now he's got a 3-second gap, or 3.5 second gap or so, to Dan Murphy in P5, also on the soft compound tyres. So like I said, we might see a bit of a gap there starting to form there between those two drivers. Of course, the DRS available to Dan Murphy if he can make any moves there for P4. He's going to be trying to get himself past Vessier now in the Red Bull, but Bannister there will try and cling on to the back of that McLaren for the time being, so you can use that DRS and potentially get the pass back there for that P6. We'll have to wait and see how it goes, how it unfolds. Danny there has dropped off the back of this queue, so I'm not quite sure if Danny's there struggling on the tyres or if he's made a mistake there on the previous lap. But he's now got to try and get himself back in that 1 second window. He wants to use the DRS to defend there from Martin and from Siege and from Immortal there, who are all coming up to the back of the Mercedes driver, and they'll be there very, very soon indeed as well. So he needs to watch out. Looks like there's a bit of a train now forming. I think they have actually caught up to the back of this battle here. So now there's a train forming behind Reflection. In P6 there, so all the drivers there bunching up behind there all the way down to P12, so it looks like there's going to be a bit of a shootout very soon there, and of course lots of different tyre strategies in this start of this race, so we'll have to wait and see which one's going to be the optimal tyre strategy as we get ourselves underway for this for the next sort of middle stint of this race. And I think, like I said, the soft compound tyres will start to drop off very soon indeed, as that is going to be the pressure. As Immortal is in the pit lane from the hard compound tyres, he's decided to call it a day already on those hards. So he's into the pits there for the AlphaTauri, the championship leader, of course, making an executive decision there to switch off the hard compound tyres that he started on. As Kiki's got himself past Bannister, has he? He has done into P7, goes the Ferrari driver, good stuff. And into the pits goes Chewy as well. Onto the mediums goes Immortal and for Chewy as well. Chewy's from the soft compound tyres onto the medium, so I think he might be going medium to the end of this race. Maybe the same there for Immortal. Immortal, they're dropping down to P14, but he's now done his pit stop, as has Chewy as well. And I think KD there will be not too far behind these drivers as well when he gets himself over the next complex of corners. Of course, like I said, it's the only figure of 8 F1 circuit I think ever to be raced in Formula One. It's been like I said, a pleasure to have it on the calendar in my opinion as well. Like I said, a very historic circuit with the F1 history as well. And I think in terms of the championships won here, I think it's quite high indeed as well. I wouldn't know the number off the top of my head, I'm afraid, so don't quote me on that. But you have to find that out with a Google search, I'm afraid. I don't have the knowledge in my brain, but there we go. So we've seen Chewy pit from the soft compound tyres already. Will that mean that the soft compound runners are going to be coming into the pit lane very soon? Indeed, Beat there is putting the pressure on Acid Masters now as they come down towards the main straight. Here we go. Then it looks like the ERS is on for that Alfa Romeo. He's got the move done already. Has Beat there up into P2. He's got ahead of Acid Masters there as they go into turn 1 already before the braking zone. The Alfa Romeo now up into the higher echelons. Reflection is in the pit lane though. His teammate of Kaido, of course, leading this race, but Reflection there decided to call it a day there on the soft compound tyres. Siege the same there. Siege is on the medium compound tyres, but he's called it a day already. So I'm not quite sure what strategies are going on here, because it seems like all the strategies are everywhere, to be honest, in this race. Reflection is in the pits. So Siege is on the hard compound tyres, so Siege switching from the mediums to the hards, the opposite of Immortal there, of course. So Immortal now comes down the main straight to finish off his lap as well. Reflection coming out the pit lane on more soft compound tyres, so he's gone onto the softs again, has the Reflection. So again, it's an interesting strategy call indeed. So he's gone double soft from the start. Acid Masters has got past Beat here. Acid, oh no, there's more moves into the exit, the hairpin there. Beat getting himself back past the Red Bull, I should say. The Alfa Romeo, I think, might have made a mistake there, unfortunately. So he's now he's lost out quite a bit of time there. He's 2 seconds now behind the race leader. And I think that means the soft compound tyres are starting to get towards the end of their lifespan at this stage of the race there. But like I said, Siege now on the hard compound tyres. He's lost out to AC Immortal there, of course, who's on the medium. So he's going to be a bit faster at this stage of the race. But Siege, can he get to the end of the race? He's got to do 40 laps there on these hard compound tyres. It will be one hell of a push if he can do that as well. But I'm sure if anybody can do it, Siege could probably do it. We'll have to wait and see what he can do in the latter part of this race as well. But good stuff indeed for Siege if he can do. It'll be one hell of a stint indeed. Immortal there onto the medium compound tyres, so he's decided to go off. He's changed the strategy there. He's gone off the hard compound tyres. He's going wide there at Spoon as well. And unfortunately for Immortal, they're not looking good indeed on those medium compound tyres. And hopefully that's not a double warning or anything like that for the Alpha Tauri. Into the pits goes Danny there from P9. Sorry, from P8. He's now onto the medium compound tyres as well, so he's switching off for the softs onto the medium. Same as Reflection. No, he's not the same as Reflection, because Reflection's gone double soft, like I said earlier. So now Reflection coming down the hill. Where will he come out compared to where will Danny come out compared to Reflection, of course? And I think Immortal might get himself past as well. Will Siege get himself through as well? We'll have to wait and see. Danny coming out the pit lane now. Here he comes. Where is Siege? We might see Siege very soon. There he is. There. Oh no, he's not there exactly, but he's in the background there. You can see the Williams there in the background, but he's got himself up the order there. Danny just needs to make sure he keeps those tyres in the right order, and trying to warm them up through sector 1 is going to be very difficult indeed, because it's very easy to lose the car. And you can see Danny, I think he's already struggling actually with that car, trying to keep it pointing in the right direction as Siege is off the circuit in the background there. You saw him just go off the circuit there in the background, and unfortunately he's lost out to Chewy now. He's got himself back underway there without spinning up those tyres too much, which is good news, because that will mean that he can carry on in this race. But unfortunate scenes there for Siege. He was having a bit of a difficult one. Unfortunately, now he switched onto the hard compound tyres. It is still having a bit of trouble there through sector 1. It looks like KD's got himself back in this, within the 30-second window, so of course, but then the pit stops there coming up, then that will be good news there for KD. Beat there not back in the pits, he's in the pit stop for the first time, I should say, if I can get me words out, but he's coming in from P2, and now let's see what he's going to go on to. He's going to go on to the hard compound tyres, he is, so that is interesting stuff indeed. Can he get to the end like Siege, potentially, on those hard compound tyres? He's going to do 38 laps there, has the Alfa Romeo driver. Where will he come out as well? Will he come out ahead of his teammate? No, he won't be behind his teammate. Serious Mushroom coming through as well down the straight. Can he see? You can see the Alfa Romeo there of Beat, and of course on the on the warmed up hard compound tyres for Serious Mushroom, he might have a bit more of an easier job trying to get past the Alfa Romeo now at this stage of the race. But Beat, they're trying to get those tyres warmed up desperately to make sure that he can keep ahead of the Haas driver behind. Serious Mushroom now gained, he's within that 1 second window. You can see the time difference there on those colder, hard compound tyres that are just not in the temperature window just yet when you're coming out the pit lane, and that is costing Beat there the time there to Serious Mushroom. Serious Mushroom now all over the back there of the Alfa Romeo. Can he make any moves there into turn, or into the hairpin I should say? Under the bridge we go, and no moves being made just yet, and he's going to have to try and line up a move there into the hairpin in the braking zone. Is he going to go down the inside? No, he's late on the brakes, but Beat there of course on the colder hard compound tyres has hopefully starting to get them inside the operating window to be able to try and get the best performance back out of those tyres now as well. So I think he's now been able to cruise away. He's gained already a bit of time there on Mushroom as he's come out of the hairpin as well there. So I think the hard compound tyres there on the Alfa Romeo now have warmed up enough. We can get ourselves back underway. Into the pits goes Acid Masters there from P2 now. Into the pits for the first time as well on those soft compound tyres. And is he going to go onto the hards as well, or is he going to go onto the medium compound tyres? We'll have to wait and see. He's onto the medium compound tyres, so an interesting change there in the strategy there. Vessier takes over P2 from his Red Bull teammate, and that is good news indeed. Vessier there doing a good job there in P2. Kiki carries on there on the medium compound tyres, as does Bannister as well. Acid Masters coming out the pit lane. Here comes Martin, and Beat will come through as well. I think potentially it's going to be close indeed between the Red Bull and the Alfa Romeo. Let's have a look and see into turn one. Oh, there's contact, I think, or I'm not quite sure if there was contact actually. Acid Masters went off the circuit for a spin there, as he's got the yellow flag is being called out. Is that a VSC? No, it's not a VSC, it's just a spin there for Acid Masters. Unfortunately, he's now on, I think he was coming out of the pit lane, and now of course the Alfa Romeo is going to try and go around turn one, and that pit lane exit is going to be quite difficult to try and manage. But we'll wait and see. So like I said, we'll have to, I think usually in Formula 1 terms, the person exiting the pit lane has to concede to the drivers already on track, which makes sense obviously. But unfortunately for Acid Masters, he came off a bit worse there, and he was about 5 seconds up the road, wasn't he, compared to where he is now on track. So that is a bit of a shame there for Acid Masters. But hopefully, like I said, the front wing's still intact, all the cars still intact, and those fresh medium compound tyres will be able to get himself back up the order. Dan Murphy's pit for the medium compound tyres as well. He stays in P10, but he's got Reflection to deal with there on the soft compound tyres right behind him. Now Reflection trying to get himself back in the points paying positions, and I think Reflection, like I said, doing double soft in the first two stints will mean that he's got to go either onto the hard compound tyres or the mediums in the second stint. So in the third stint actually. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the strategy is going to be for the McLaren driver, and can he get himself back in the points after that as well. There's the likes of Danny and more to have pitted for the medium compound tyres. Same for Chewy as well. Siege is on the hard compound tyres, looking to go long there in this second stint for Siege, and same for KD as well. I'm not sure if Siege has got a problem there. He seems to have lost a lot more time to KD. I thought it was about 30 seconds. It's now down to 18 seconds. So KD doing a good job there in this race. I think he's still doing all right. As Reflection does get the position there. He's up into P10. There is Reflection ahead of Dan Murphy now into the points for them. Oh, he's gone very wide indeed there. Blimey, he's off. Just disappeared off the screen, didn't he? But he's got himself up into P10 for the time being, and now looking to chase down Acid Masters as well. But Acid Masters on those fresh medium compound tyres is probably looking forwards rather than looking backwards at this stage of the race. So we'll have to wait and see how he can progress there in this race as well. Beat is right behind his teammate now as well. There's no pit stops there for the top five. The same for Mushroom in P7 and Vintage in P8. They're on the hard compound tyres. They're looking to go longer in this first stint of this race. We're on to lap 17 of 53. Let's have a look at the next battles that are going to unfold here. I think it's going to be between the Alfa Romeos, to be honest. It's going to be a bit of a team orders here, I think. Potentially, can the Alfa Romeo of Beat there get himself past his teammate of Martin? And will there be any team orders? It's not Freddie Vasseur anymore, is it? I can't remember who it is now. It's I can't remember the name of the new person, but if anybody can enlighten me in the comment section. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be hopefully a bit of a communication there between the Alfa Romeo drivers, unless there's going to be a battle there between the two and the drivers. The team says let them fight, but down the straight we go. There is not much fighting going on there, as Beat has got himself up into P5 ahead of Martin now, and that is the order done and dusted there for the Alfa Romeos. They've sorted themselves out there, very nicely done indeed. Of course, 17 lap old mediums there for Martin, and there's only 3 laps on the hard compound tyres there for Beat as well. So it's like I said, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer there in terms of the strategy there for the Alfa Romeo outfit. And now they've got themselves up into P5 and P6, of course, yeah, but yet to make a stop is Martin, the same as the top 4 as well. So that is that. Vintage clinging onto the back of Mushroom for the time being as well. He's sticking with that Haas is the Vintage. So good stuff indeed. Hopefully the true Geordie, I should say, can he get himself up into P7 there and get himself some more points on the board potentially. We'll wait and see. Hello, says Kaz. Unfortunately, Kaz not been able to race tonight, which was a shame because you've got a Ferrari seat available for you, Kaz. But unfortunately, you're 18 laps too late. But welcome to you in the stream anyway, and hopefully you're okay. Vintage there in P8, like I said, is trying to chase down Serious Mushroom. Dan Murphy's trying to get back past Reflection there. Of course, Reflection just overtook Dan Murphy on the last lap there with the DRS assistance, but he's now up into the points paying positions, but he's got pressure there coming from Dan Murphy, and Immortal is catching up here as well. Look at Immortal there. He's in that 1 second window. He's in 1 second of Reflection, actually, indeed, even. So he's going to be trying to push on to get himself back up in the points paying positions after having a bit of a difficult stint there on the first stint on the hard compound tyres. He only did 11 laps on the hard compound tyres. He switched off very quickly indeed. So we're expecting the hard compound tyres to go a bit further than that, of course. We are expecting in some cases then to go 40 laps for Siege and for Beat as well. So there we go. He's cheering for Acid Masters, is Kaz in the comments saying, here comes Vintage into turn 1. No moves being made, but Acid Masters is now caught up to the back of this battle here as well. Reflection, and Dan Murphy getting a bit argy-bargy between the two of them there, as Dan Murphy gets himself up into P5 ahead of the McLaren for the time being. But yeah, like I said, there's no love lost on that one. It doesn't look like, unfortunately. But there we go. Reflection there slotting himself back into P11 there on those soft compound tyres. Acid Masters, like I said, on the fresher mediums has joined the battle for the for P7 here behind Vintage and Mushroom. We were both on 18-lap-old hard compound tyres, so it looks like the pressure will be on from. Here comes Acid Masters down the inside. He's going, or down the outside, I should say. He's got the move done. Great late braking move indeed as well. Here comes Vintage back up the inside, but the move has been made already by Acid Masters. He's up into P8 there with a very late braking attempt there on the outside there of Vintage. Vintage had to go to the inside to cover off the move, but unfortunately that left the door open on the outside there for the Red Bull driver. And now up into P8 goes Acid Masters. He's got to chase after the Serious Mushroom. He's going to bring Vintage with him, of course, as well. So it's not all over for Vintage to try and get himself past the Haas driver. But there we go. Acid Masters there with the extra pace has got himself through there on the fresher tyres as well. Good stuff indeed, but of course I think he'll have to come into the pits as well at some stage once again, because I don't think those medium compound tyres can make it the 30 laps or so that we've got to go to the end of this race. Here he comes now down towards the main straight after completing the Casio triangle. DRS is available there on the Red Bull. Can he get himself past the Haas of Serious Mushroom? He has done before the braking zone. He's up into P7 there, and now Serious Mushroom slots himself into P8 there. Down the back there, Reflection's lost out to I think Reflection's had a problem there. He's lost out to Dan Murphy and to AC Mortal now down the main straight as well. AC Mortal there slotting himself up into P11. He's not back in the points just yet, is the championship leader, but he's getting his way back up the order, and we can see the pace there from Immortal. I think he might be struggling indeed with the setup as well. I think there's a few people who are struggling with setups, especially me, when I'm trying to get setup sorted for the race, because the leaderboards for some reason have been inactive for the last week or so, haven't they? And I think it's the same as far as I'm aware in terms of the other leagues that I'm in as well, in terms of racing in them. That is it's the same for Xbox and for PC as well. It's all leaderboards, whatever the console. It's the same for all drivers everywhere. So unfortunately, that is not good news. As Dan Murphy now catching up to the back of this battle here with Vintage and Serious Mushroom. Or no, it's just Vintage now, isn't it? Vintage has had a problem there. I think he's lost out to Serious Mushroom now. He's 2 seconds behind the Haas driver now. But Dan Murphy will be looking to get himself up further up the order. Same for Immortal. Same for Reflection as well. I think maybe struggling on those hard compound tyres now is the likes of Vintage and Serious Mushroom potentially. Although they've done 20 laps. The same for Kaido on the medium compound tyres out in the race lead. So it's not all doom and gloom. The top 4, sorry, I haven't pitted just yet. The same for Martin in P6 as well, and the same for Mushroom and Vintage in the top 10 as well. But here they've got now a Aston Martin of Dan Murphy to try and keep him company down the main straight. DRS is available there for the Aston as he comes down the main straight towards the turn 1. It's going to be late indeed on the brakes indeed. Here we go. Oh, Immortal off the circuit again. Not quite sure what Immortal was doing there. He was very late indeed, and Vintage had the position, I think, and I think Immortal tried to put his nose in the gap there, unfortunately, which was always going to close. Of course, the angle of turn 1, it always does close in on you. And unfortunately for Immortal, he's had that spin and he's got himself back underway. Chewy has been passed, as he by Siege. Siege up into P14. But like I said, on those hard combat tires, looking to go much longer than Immortal on those hard combat tires who pitted at the same time, didn't they? Chewy there is going to try and stick to the back of that Williams for the time being as well. Blimey, a bit of action there as well, because like I said, I think Immortal there was trying to push to get the move done. It was on Vintage. Reflection has got himself past Vintage as well, up into P10 there. Not quite sure what's happening there. Yeah, so yeah, there we go. Reflection back in the points for the time being, but Vintage there is still going strong indeed. Danny there is having a bit of a lonely race at the time for this moment in time. Anyway, he was in the battle there for the points at one stage. He's now got to try and get himself composed, keep himself composed, and keep himself on pace as well. He's going to have a few drivers ahead of him still yet to pit, so there's still quite a few pit stops to be made for the drivers ahead of him. So that might promote him into the points paying positions for the time being. When that is done and dusted, of course, beat and Bannister switching places now up into P4 goes the Alfa Romeo. They're getting past the Alpine. Of course, like I said, the Alpine is the Alfa Romeo has made a pit stop already from the soft compound tyres to the hards, and the other drivers that he's now overtaking or now getting himself in the mix of have yet to make a pit stop at all. So they are going to be pitting later on in this race, and they'll be looking to try and do a contra strategy there to the Alfa Romeo driver. I think the actual driver on the contra strategy is the Alfa Romeo itself, starting on the soft compound tyres and going to the hards. I think the strategy itself is probably mediums to hards, I would expect. But there we go. We'll have to wait and see what the actual strategy is going to be. The ideal strategy is 21 laps on the medium compound tyres there for the top three, and for Bannister in P5, who's just been overtaken there by the Alfa Romeo driver. Acid Masters there is gaining as well on those new medium compound tyres, which is looking good indeed for Acid Masters if he can get himself back in the fray. Like I said, he did have a bit of an issue there with. I think he had a bit of an issue there with Beat there as he came out the pit lane, but he's now got that gap down to almost 4 seconds there, which was much further than that the previous when they came out the pit lane. Of course, it was about 7 seconds or so, or when he had that spin. So he's now got himself back in the window. Speaking of in the window, we've got Dan Murphy there trying to get himself past a serious mushroom as they come up the hill there towards 130R, and it looks like he's already going for the move there. He's up into a P8 there, sorry, for the Aston Martin before we get to the braking zone there of the Casio Triangle. Serious Mushroom, of course, will have the pits, will have the DRS, I should say, but into the pits goes Bannister from P5. He's going to be calling it a day there on the medium compound tyres. 23 laps of 53 have been completed, and he's going to be going onto the hard compound tyres, and I think that is the strategy done and dusted there for Bannister. He's going to be trying to get to the end there on those hard compound tyres. He's done 23 laps there on the 22 laps there on the medium compound tyres. He's now got 30 laps or so to go on the hards. I think that'll be it for the strategy for the Alpine driver there. Good stuff indeed. Comes out the pits behind Immortal into P13, but he's not going to be too far back. He needs to make sure he keeps those tyres, gets those tyres warmed up, and doesn't have any spins or any issues as he gets himself going once again there in the Alpine. Good stuff indeed. Up the order there, Vesio is now under a bit of pressure there from Kiki. All these drivers at the top three have yet to pit, of course, and like I said, I think we might see some more pit activity now. Bannister has made a pit stop as well. We're at the end of the stint, I would say. Is Kaidel from the race. He's led every lap so far. Is he going to make a pit stop at this stage of the race? Is he going to call it a day there on those medium compound tyres? Look how much ERS he's got as well. He's got so much ERS to play with. That is a great stuff indeed there for Kaidel, because that will be able to use that in the defence if he needs to. He stays out for the time being, though. The race leader there carrying on those medium compound tyres, done 23 laps there on the medium compound tyres now, and he's going to carry on for the time being. Here comes Vessier now into the Casio Triangle. Is he going to come in the pit lane as well, or is he going to call it a day on those mediums? No, not quite. He's carrying on. Kiki is also carrying on, so the top three stay out there on the medium compound tyres. Interesting stuff indeed. Will Martin come in the pits there on the same tyres as well? He's in the Alfa Romeo as well, but he's decided to stay out as well as his teammate. Acid Masters has got himself past it up into P5 there, chasing down Beat there for P4. 4 seconds is the gap for the time being. Dan Murphy's got himself past Serious Mushroom, but now he's trying to get himself past Martin as well. And Martin, I think, is going to put up a fight here as he goes into Sector 1. A very hard place to overtake indeed, unless you're sort of side by side there throughout the whole section, which is very difficult to hold on to as well. Then you need to have exact trust in the person you're overtaking and the person who is overtaking at the same time to make the move there. And he's not going to be able to make any gains there on the Alfa Romeo there through Sector 1. And now he's going to have to bide his time and try again later on. Serious Russian there chugging on as well in P8. Good stuff, and he's up in the points now. Is Serious Russian. Good stuff from him. Reflection there is like I said, I think those soft compound tires again have probably started to fade away now. Have the soft compound tires. I think they might be getting towards the end of their best life, and I'm not quite sure if the strategy here for Reflection is to go onto the medium compound tires for the final stint, but he's going to have to get those final medium compound tires to about 30 laps or so, which is going to be a bit of a stretch indeed. From the race lead, we have Kydell in the pit lane, and he's called it a day there on the medium compound tires. He's decided that it's time for the, what is it going to be? It's going to be the hard compound tires there. So onto the hards goes the race leader from the pole position as well. Vessier there is going to come in the pits, as is Kiki as well. So that is the strategies done and dusted as well for Kydell, I think. Is he going to lose out the lead though? I think he's lost the lead there to Beat. Beat has claimed the lead. Acid Master's coming through as well. Is he going to come out in front of Acid Masters? He is just about. And he's he isn't, unfortunately. Kydell has lost the lead after the pit stop phases. Here comes Dan Murphy past Martin as well. Mortals, that's the fastest lap of the race. Good stuff indeed from him. Vessier coming out the pit lane now in P10. He's been passed by Danny, and out of the pits goes Kiki as well. Kiki going to be behind Immortal for the time being, but that is that there sorted for the drivers there coming out the pit lane there. Vessier stays in the points paying positions, but he's got the championship leader all over the back of him on those much fresher and warmed up medium compound tyres, and on those hards I think he's going to be struggling indeed to try and get those tyres through sector 1. Especially you can see the grip that the Alfa Tauri has got over the Red Bull. He's pushing on. That is that Alfa Tauri, but Vessier doing a good job of hanging on there at this stage of the race. Just needs to make sure he gets those tyres warmed up, and then I think he can get himself back up underway. But Immortal, I think, trying to make the move into the hairpin. He's going to be late on the brakes as Immortal. Great stuff indeed if he can hold on to it, but Vessier there out of the hairpin has the traction to keep hold of that P10. Great stuff indeed there for Vessier. Good stuff from the Red Bull driver to keep that position for the time being, and now his tyres are going to get a bit more warmed up. They're going to be a bit more comfortable now at this stage, which is good news indeed as well. So after that opening salvo there through sector 1, he managed to cling on to that P10 ahead of Immortal, the championship leader there, and he's holding on very nicely done indeed as well. But here comes Immortal once again. He's going to be using the ERS there. Can he make a move there into 130R? He's going down the inside into 130R. Vessier has gone wide, and that is not good news there for Vessier, but he's going to have the DRS now, I think, on the Alfa Tauri. Reflection is back in the pit lane, so he's called it a day there on his double soft strategy there. I think he's going to be calling it a day on those tyres completely as well. Now he's just into the pits there for the medium compound tyres. So the question is, can he take the mediums to the end of this race? That is going to be about 26 laps there on the medium compound tyres for Reflection. It might be a bit of a struggle indeed. We'll have to wait and see. Siege is going to come through, I think, to claim that P13 spot ahead of Reflection, as Reflection now comes out the pit lane to start his next and final, or hopefully his final stint as well. Right then, out in front, we've got Beat there on the hard compound tyres. Of course, he started on the soft compound tyres. He pit 11 laps ago for the hards, and we've got the same for Acid Masters, who started on the softs as well. He's now onto the medium compound tyres, so looking to bring the gap down to the Alfa Romeo driver, but I think we'll have to pit again. Will Beat have to pit again is the question. We might see him carry on to the end of this race potentially, but he's got to do another, another 26 laps on those hard compound tyres, which will take him up to about 37 laps there on those hards. I would say it's probably achievable, but I'm not quite sure if it's going to be the best strategy. We'll have to find out. Kydell now onto the hard compound tyres is probably going to the end as well on those 1 lap old hards, so I think he's got the fresh set on, and now he can get set his sights on claiming back his lead, but he might have to do a bit of overtaking there on Acid Masters and Beat there if he wants to get that lead back as well potentially. We'll have to find out. The gaps have all started to form there between the drivers now. There's a few more to pit and a few more to carry on, I think, as well. Same for Serious Russian and Vintage. They're going to be carrying on those hard compound tyres, but into the pits goes Martin there. Martin from the medium compound tyres. 25 laps there, 26 laps on the medium compound tyres. Great stuff indeed there from Martin. One hell of a stint indeed. He's done half the race there on the medium compound tyres. So it is possible there for Reflection, for his records, that is. Now out of the pit lane he goes onto the hard compound tyres we go. And down the pit lane we go as well. Siege is going to come out. It's going to be close indeed between the two drivers there, but Siege gets the position. I think will Reflection come through as well? Reflection's too far back there to get the move done, unfortunately, on Martin. But of course, on the much more warmed up medium compound tyres, he might make a move very quickly indeed. Here's the could the McLaren driver. He's going to have to try and get himself past very carefully indeed as well, because those hard compound tyres are going to be taking an age to warm up. There's a great move indeed. Look at that from Reflection there. He's got the move done on Martin. Of course, Martin on the colder hard compound tyres, but a great move indeed nonetheless. A fantastic move indeed, and trust in the Alfa Romeo there to know that he was coming through as well. Great stuff indeed from Martin to make sure that he didn't cause any issues there, but fantastic move indeed from Reflection. What a move indeed. One of my candidates there for the overtake of the season. I haven't got those candidates sorted out yet, but I'll have to come back to this one and sort it out afterwards as well. But great stuff indeed there from Reflection to get himself past the Alfa Romeo, who's going to be on cold hard compound tyres through sector 1. Is one hell of a loss of time there if you're stuck behind it, and he's managed to make the move there past the Alfa Romeo before it cost him too much time there. Look at that, 2 seconds lost there for Martin just on the tyre warm up alone for the hard compound tyres, which is not something you want to be stuck behind. Of course, here comes Immortal there. He is behind Danny, and he's behind Vintage at this stage of the race. Danny trying to defend actually from the AlphaTauri driver, as he has done. He's up into P7 as is Immortal there, the championship leader. He's up into P7 ahead of the Mercedes driver of Danny there, and Vintage is the next target. Of course, I thought Danny was going to be trying to attack Vintage there, but he didn't have the ERS, I don't think, in the Mercedes there to try and use the battery power to get himself past. Whereas Immortal there had a lot to spare, didn't he, to get that AlphaTauri powered past the Mercedes instead, and now up into P7 there. So now he's going to try and set his sights on P6. He was running in P6 at the beginning of this race on the hard combat tyres, but then he had a bit of a spin, didn't he, in the latter half, or the first sort of part of the race, about sort of around lap 10 or so, into the hairpin. Any moves being made? None, unfortunately, for the championship leader. He's having to sit put for the time being. But there we go. Then let's have a look and see what he can do there in the next part of this lap. I think we'll see some more overtaking coming very soon. Kiki and Vessia have resumed their battle, because Kiki, they both pitted at the same time, but they of course were running P2 and P3 when they did pit. And from the medium compound tyres as well, they're onto the hard compounds to the end of this race, I would assume. We'll have to find out how that's going to unfold. A Vintage has been passed there by Immortal there before 130R. Up into P6 goes the AlphaTauri driver. Good stuff indeed. A great move indeed as well. Into the Casio triangle we go. And I think Vintage there will be glad of the DRS there, actually, to try and help defend from the drivers behind him. Here comes Danny there, back down the main straight, but he's not got the ERS, like I said, to play with to get himself past the Williams driver. And now that's good news. Like I said, the DRS has helped Vintage there to hold on to P6 for the time being. Serious Russian coming out of the pit lane there. He's going onto the medium compound tyres there. So he's going to the end of this race, I would assume as well. He's got 25 laps to do on those medium compound tyres, but he's done almost 29 on the hard compound tyres. So it's going to be odd as even there for the strategy for Serious Russian. He's out in P13 ahead of Martin. I think Martin might have had a problem. He's going a bit slowly there as Martin, unfortunately, because he's not been able to get himself past. I thought he was going to be able to at least get those tyres warmed up and catch up to the back of Serious Mushroom, get himself past Serious Mushroom before the pit stop there, or in the pit stop phase. But Martin there slotting himself in behind, and now he's got to do exactly the same thing that Reflection had to do. He's trying to get himself past Mushroom, who's trying to warm up those tyres after coming out the pit lane. Here comes Danny's past Vintage, has he? He has on the exit of the hairpin there. He's got himself up into P6 as the Mercedes driver, but Vintage, of course, yet to pit, and I think Danny might have to pit as well. Same for Immortal. They might have to pit as well. I don't think those medium compact tyres are making it to the end. Down the back of the order, Martin is off the circuit. Martin is off the circuit completely. I'm not quite sure what happened to him there. He just went straight on at the hairpin, it looked like. But I'm not quite sure how he's gone round there. It's true he's got himself up into P14 now, but Martin there can carry on those hard combat tyres. Like I said, there's people to pit still ahead of him, so he might be able to gain some places later on in this race as he is going to the end. Reflection's got himself past Siege there, up into 130R before we even go through the corner there. And Siege there on those hard combat tyres is going to be a bit more of a sitting duck there for Reflection there on the fresh medium compound tyres. But yeah, like I said, Martin there having a bit of trouble there through sector 2, but he's got himself back underway, and hopefully he can get himself back underway in this race as well. KD picks up a 3-second penalty. That is another penalty there added on to KD's race time, but he's actually catching up to the back of this pack on those medium compound tyres, so it's not all doom and gloom for KD. I don't think he's doing a good job there so far. He's still got he has got a used set of mediums that he went on to, that he started, well, he didn't start the race on, he went on to from the hard compound tyres, but he only went on them for one lap as he came into the pits once again. So he's done a fantastic job indeed to negate the time loss. He was over a minute down to the back of the train, but he's now got himself within that almost within the 1 second window there of Martin. So it's not all doom and gloom there for KD as Immortal has left the session. That is not good news. He's up in P5 as Immortal. Hopefully he can get himself back in the session. Fingers crossed he can anyway. He's not in his car, is he? So hopefully he can get he can use the old invite to get himself back in the lobby. We're on lap 30 of 53. We've got 23 laps to go at the end of this one. Beat there, just finishing off lap 30 as well. He's on to lap 31 now. Is the race leader, of course, and we are expecting the race leader potentially to go to the end of this race as well on those hard compound tyres. We're not seeing the gap from Kydell come down much, are we? He's actually losing time there to Dan Murphy, who's on the medium compound tyres. We're on 16 lap old medium compound tyres, so they're not going to be in the best shape. But Kydell is actually more under pressure from Dan Murphy in P4 than actually gaining on the two drivers ahead of him, which is quite odd. We would expect the race leader to try and catch up to the back of those two, but he's losing. Well, he's not losing, but he's just sort of in the same sort of ballpark of lap time, I would imagine. You could say in terms of those fresher hards. Here comes Vessier. They're getting himself past Vintage up into P7 goes Vessier. Good stuff indeed from him, getting himself past the Williams driver there up into P7, and now Kiki. Of course, Kiki was involved in the battle there with Vessier. This is holding up Kiki there, which is nice, great stuff indeed there for the Red Bull driver, but not good news there for the Ferrari driver as well. Vintage, I think, trying to cling onto those hard compound tyres and go as long as he can there on the hards there to try and get himself to the end of the race on the next compound that he chooses. I would imagine that he's going to do the same situation as Serious Mushroom. They go onto the medium compound tyres very soon, but we don't know just yet. We'll have to wait and see. Kiki there losing traction there on the exit, the hairpin there. That has cost him a lot of time indeed, and he's lost out there to Vintage. He's lost out the 1 second window. Same for Vintage to Vessier as well. So that is come back down. Oh, as I thought there was going to be an overtake there, but it is that. Well, technically it's an overtake. Yeah, it's Danny on Immortal there. I don't know if anybody's invited Immortal back, so I'll just send him a quick invite. I can't find him online. He's offline, unfortunately. Bear with me 1 second. I'll try and get him an invite. There we go. I'll send that over to him. But I'm not quite sure what's happened to Immortal. Hopefully he can get himself back in this race. But I popped him an invite anyway, so hopefully he can get himself back in. I think that hopefully the old invite will work anyway, as Vintage does enter the pits there. I think that is he's got a penalty there for speeding in the pit lane as well. We saw the same for KD as well. Unfortunately there for Vintage, he picks up a 5-second penalty. That's going to be added onto his race time unless he does pit again, of course. But unfortunate scenes there for Vintage there, speeding into the pit lane, going a bit too fast. It is very easy to speed in the pit lane, unfortunately, because you're going downhill, of course, in this pit lane, or on the pit lane entry anyway. So you're literally gaining or bringing more speed with you as you go towards that white line, of course, and that is what's happened there. Unfortunately for Chewy is back in the pit lane as well. He's done 20 laps there on the medium compound tyres, calling it a day already. So he of course started on the soft compound tyre. So I think, like I said, the medium strategy for he's onto mediums. There he is. So soft, medium for Chewy there. Looks like to the end of the race. Katie's on 25 laps there on the medium compound tyres as well. Might be looking to go back onto the medium compound tyres very soon as well to get to the end of this race. But he's caught up to the back of Martin now. Martin there is struggling to get underway. Unfortunately, he might be able to get some more places there with pit stops for the drivers ahead of him. But we did think that he was going to get past Vintage as well. At the moment, he's technically getting past Vintage on the penalty situation, but I think Vintage now on the medium compound tyres will be able to get himself further up the order as well. Good stuff indeed. Right, Vessier now is trying to line up he's not lining up a move, he's trying to get himself up into P6, but unfortunately Immortal can't really do much about that because he is defenceless, unfortunately, at this stage, because he's not in the car. I have invited Immortal, but hopefully he can get himself back in the lobby, as Vessier does get that P6 ahead of the AlphaTauri driver. The other thing that Immortal's going to have to worry about is his AI pitting for him, because usually the AI decides to make a stop for you, doesn't it, if it doesn't like you. So I think on those old medium compound compound tyres, his Jeff might come on the radio and say you got a box, but no, not just yet. But hopefully Immortal can get himself back in the car before that happens, and like I said, he will be able to get himself back in this race. But it's not looking good. It's Kydell, the former race leader, picks up a 3-second penalty. That is bad news indeed, very bad news indeed, because he's like I said, like I was saying earlier, he's not gaining too much on the drivers ahead of him. And he's now got a 4.2 second gap there to Acid Masters. It was about the same on previously, about 3 laps ago, wasn't it? So unfortunately for Kydell, he's now got a penalty, and he's not been able to bring that gap down to the 2 drivers ahead of him either. So that is not good news. Maybe in the latter part of this race, he might be able to get that back. As down into the pits goes KD there he's back down the back of the grid, unfortunately. But like I said, now onto the fresh medium compound tyres there to the end of this race, and that is like I said, he's done a great job indeed to negate the gap that he did have. Yellow flags for someone in sector 2. It's Vintage there in sector 2. Where's he on? He's off the circuit. It's a safety car. A safety car has been called out, and that is, like I said, that is a race defining, I think, in some cases. As Kydell's in the pit lane, he's called it a day there on these hard compound tyres already. So that is interesting stuff indeed. Dan Murphy's in the pits as well. Is he going to go on? What's he going to go on to? Is the next question though. We've got 20 laps left of this race. Dan Murphy's into the pit lane there as well. Kydell onto the medium compound tyres, as is Dan Murphy as well. He's not been able to get that move there, unfortunately, as Dan. Into the pits as well goes Danny. Vessier is in the pit lane also. Immortal is in the pits as well. His Ghost has come into the pit lane, which is not bad news actually, to be fair, under the safety car, but he's going on to the medium compound tyres as well. Siege is carrying on, so I'm not quite sure what the strategy is from Siege here, because that is, I would say, not the optimum strategy, put it that way. But there we go. Siege is going to carry on. I think he might, because of course they got one more extra lap, because the race leaders of Acid Masters and Beat have got themselves past the safety car queue, so they don't have any delta, I don't think. So they're going to be able to get themselves back to the pit lane without any delta, and I think that's going to be the same there for Kydell. Everyone can pass the safety car here, and is parked in a bit of an awkward place there as well, isn't it? Look at that. That's a very odd place to park your safety car, isn't it? Indeed. Why would you go and park it there, Burnt? But he has done anyway. So that is that. I think everyone onto the medium compound tyres will be the next phase or the next stage. So like I said, everyone can pass the safety car queue. But the problem is that they need to make sure they don't hit the safety car at this stage, because it seems to be trying to block his way as best he can. But there we go then. Everybody is on the lead lap as well. So that is good news as well, because everybody else can now carry on and at least get themselves back in the safety car queue. Beat there from the race leaders pitting. Will he come out ahead of Kydell? I think he might do. Same for Acid Masters as well. Where will they come out and compared to the McLaren driver? He seems to be going very slowly, does Kydell. I'm not quite sure if he's realised that he's not got a delta and he can actually try and catch up to the 2 ahead of him. But here comes Beat there. He's going to keep the lead, I think, as he comes down the pit lane. So he's going to keep the race lead, and same for Acid Masters as well. I think he's going to carry on in P2, because Kydell is too far back here at this stage, which is very bad news indeed for Kydell. But nonetheless, for Beat and for Acid Masters, great news indeed onto the fresh medium compound tyres. Will Siege come in the pits, or will he carry on? I think he might carry on here. No, he's coming in the pit lane, I think, is the Williams driver. So just extending the stint there, to be fair, because of course they had one extra lap under the safety, well, not under the safety car technically, so that is actually a good strategy call there from Siege there to gain some extra time there on the fresher tyres later on after making his stop there. He will lose a few places though, unfortunately. He might lose out to Bannister and to Reflection as well, as he trundles down the pit lane. But of course Williams towards the end of the pit lane, though, Bannister is going to come through. Will Reflection be able to get through as well? I don't think so. I think Siege has got that P10 position for the time being, so that is Siege. Good news for Siege, up into P10. Serious Mushroom has said that the safety car has ruined me. That is very interesting stuff indeed. But he's not all doom and gloom just yet. There's penalties ahead of you, and you're only in P12, so it's not too far off the points. 3 seconds there for Siege, for Kydell, and for KD behind in P15 at this stage of the race. Unfortunately, we saw that the safety car was brought out for Vintage though. Vintage had a bit of an issue there under the bridge there, didn't he? But he's got himself back underway onto a fresh set of medium compound tyres and a new front wing installed on that Williams car as well. So like I said, we're going to be back underway, not on the end of this lap. I don't think it's too far back, but hopefully at the end of lap 36 for the resumption of this race. Right, then everybody now on to fresh medium compound tyres to the end of this one. And I think that is, when I said the optimal strategy, isn't it? Of course, now from here, we've got, how many laps exactly we've got? We've got 10 of 17 laps or so to go, I would say, roughly. Will it be in at the end of the next lap? I'm not quite sure. It might be another lap indeed afterwards as well. We'll have to wait and see. We might be having to wait until the end of lap 37 rather than 36, depending on how quickly Vintage and KD and Chewy and Martin can catch up to the safety car queue. But they are coming down the main straight now as well, so it won't be too long. Hopefully it will be in at the end of this lap, so we'll have to wait and see. Will any drivers actually try, if it does stay out another lap, will any drivers try and pit for the soft compound tyres? We saw the softs do about 11 laps, didn't we, in the first couple of stints there for the likes of Reflection, for Dan Murphy and for Danny as well. So potentially we might see some soft compound runners. Will we? I'm not quite sure. It's going to be very touch and go. They're going to have to do about 15 laps there on the soft compound tyres. So by the end of the first 10 laps or so, around lap 48, I would say they're probably going to be starting to get past their sell-by date. But nonetheless, we'll have to wait and see if there's any drivers going to make that change. But at the moment, I think we might have to forget about that, because I think the safety car might be coming in at the end of this lap with Vintage there, just about to catch up to the safety car queue as well. So we might have to forget that, throw that out the window. We're going to be looking like we're going to be resuming the race on lap 37 there. So in a couple of sectors time, we'll be able to get ourselves back underway for the race start of this race. Bear Beat there, of course, will be leading us away. He has got himself the race lead there on merit as well, with a great strategy call there. The safety car did help him, of course, but so the same for Acid Masters as well. Unfortunately, with Kydell there, he was the race leader, the pole sitter, but he got that penalty there to compound his woes there from losing out of the lead, as Kydell there is dropping back there. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure what's happening there to the Belgian driver. Hopefully he can get himself sorted. I'm not quite sure if the safety car is coming in either as well. It is coming in this lap. It's a very late call indeed. I'm not quite sure why it was so late, but we are ready to get ourselves back underway. And of course, this is a very late call indeed. So, like I said, the Alfa Romeo there of Pete there is going to be having a few issues there of trying to get that race restarted. I know that he just needs to get on with it and get going, because he's otherwise going to hold up the queue too much there, and they're going to get impatient and stop waiting for him. Vessia has got past Danny there, and that is unfortunately that is not good news there for Vessia, because I think he passed before the line. We'll have to wait and see if that is a penalty there for Vessia. Chewy has been passed by KD. KD up into P14. Is he down the inside? He's up into P14. Is the Aston Martin driver? Of course, the previous two race winner, previous two races he has won those races, so yeah, he's looking to get himself back up into the points paying positions potentially for the Aston Martin driver. But yeah, I'm not quite sure if Vessia there did pass before the line there on Danny. We'll have to review that after the race there, and that will be looked at, I think, potentially, if Danny's going to report that. But we'll have to wait and see if it's going to be reported, of course. But Pete there does get the race restarted on lap 37. Like I said, we have got 36, no, not 36, we've got 26 laps to go, is it? No, 16 laps to go even, sorry, as Kiki's got himself past Immortal there. Immortal there, I think, has had some sort of connection issue there, because he's not been able to get himself back in the lobby, unfortunately, for Immortal there. He was running in P6, I think it was, or P5 when he did lag out, unfortunately, but he's now dropping down the order, which is a big shame indeed there, as Bannister there gets himself up into P8. They're getting past the undefensible of the for the AlphaTauri, unfortunately. Siege will come through as well now up into P10, up into P9. There's Reflection is going to be the next driver to come through as well, so unfortunately for Immortal, he's going to be dropping out the points there at this stage of the race, which is a big shame indeed, and unless he can get himself back in the car, he won't be able to fight for those points anymore, which is unfortunate. Their Beat there sets the fastest lap of the race, of course, trying to get himself as far away from Acid Masters and Kydell. Kydell's struggling at this stage. I'm not quite sure what's happening there to the McLaren driver. He's having problems there. Serious Matters got himself past Immortal. Siege and Bannister. Siege is through up into P8 there. He's got himself up the order there, as so does KD, up into P13 ahead of Martin as well. Good stuff indeed from KD after recovering from his horrible start to this race. He's now got himself up into P13 and looking to push on there in the next few laps. 15 laps remaining there of this race. So we've still got a few more opportunities there for some overtakes, as looks like Beat is really pushing on to try and bring that gap over 1 second there to Aston Masters there, to try and extend the lead and potentially claim his first victory here in the 100% league as well. Looking good indeed potentially for that win for another Alfa Romeo as well. We saw, of course, as KD getting past Mortal there, both rivals there in the championship, and KD there, of course, in the session, which helps him. So he gets himself past the unfortunately the the stricken Alfa Tauri driver. But like I was saying, we saw an Alfa Romeo there win last night in bronze for the first time ever in ALR as well. It was not in the history of Alfa Romeo, but in the first time for Echo in bronze. It was a fantastic race indeed, a great strategic call from the Alfa Romeo driver last night in bronze. So go back and watch someone's reflection getting past Bannister now, down before 130R. It's going to be tight indeed, very wide indeed was Bannister as well. It was, he's come back on very dangerously as well, and down the inside he tried to hold it, but Bannister has had to yield, I think, there to reflection there, unfortunately. But he's still staying in the points paying positions for the time being. Reflection gets the move there up into P9. Here comes Serious Mushroom. Can he get himself back in the points paying positions? Here comes Serious Mushroom there down the inside into turn 1. He's called it a day there on the attack there. Well, here comes KD though. KD going around the outside of Serious Mushroom. I think he's got the move done. But like I said, with the penalty situation there, it's not all doom and gloom there for Mushroom. He can still get himself back in back into the points there with KD's penalty as well. So not all doom and gloom just yet. I did see, I think somebody set the fastest lap of the race there just now. I think it might have been Beat there. He's got himself a 1.3 second gap there to Acid Masters there, which is comfortable indeed at the moment. He's outside of that 1 second DRS window, isn't he? So that is what you want to try and keep the drivers out of, especially if you're the race leader. You don't want them to be too close behind you. But he's managed to keep that gap there. Or extend that gap indeed in the last couple of laps there from the restart to, of course, negate any DRS there for the Red Bull driver. Unfortunately for Kydell, I'm not quite sure what's happening to Kydell, but he's really struggling indeed. There is the McLaren driver. Of course, he's the pole sitter and the race leader, but he's now under pressure from Dan Murphy and from Vessia and Danny as well. And I think these drivers are going to try and come through there to get themselves up the order, potentially get that podium place. But unfortunately for Kydell, I'm not quite sure what's happened to Kydell. He's really struggling indeed since he got overtaken really in the pit stop phase. He's not been able to get himself back up into the same groove that he was in on the start of this race. So I'm not sure what's happening to Kydell. He's really having a bit of a difficult time there, as now Dan Murphy there with DRS assistance is going to be able to try and make a move there for the podium places as he goes down the main straight with DRS and ERS available to the Aston Martin. He's got the move done up into P3 before the braking zone there of turn 1. He's got himself up into P3 for the Aston Martin driver. Good stuff indeed. Kydell dropping down the order, unfortunately, for the pole sitter. He's having a difficult time. KD and Bannister. KD was AC Mortal was joined back. He's joined back, but he's down in P14, unfortunately, as KD's got himself up into P10. Which is good news indeed. KD up into P10 there. Fantastic stuff indeed for the Aston Martin driver after his difficult race. He is obviously, with that penalty, he's still liable to finish outside the points at this stage, but there's still 13 and a half laps or so to go. There's some sort of laps, 14 laps or so to go in this race, so we've still got some time there for KD to try and get himself further up the order as well. We'll have to wait and see if he can finish back in the points paying positions, but AT Immortal is now back in his car, I think, which is great news indeed, because he was having a bit of an issue there, wasn't he? He was out for quite a few laps indeed as well, so he has got himself back in the session, but now got a bit of a making up to do, of course, now that he's back in the car. Unfortunately, like I said, before the did lag out, he was in P6, I think it was, before the safety car came out as well, but thankfully his car did pit for him under the safety car. I think that was actually a blessing in disguise there from Codemasters, because they got it right this time rather than getting it wrong as they usually do. But now out in front, Vessier is the next driver to try and get himself past Kydell, and Siege and Kiki's off the circuit there. I'm not quite sure if there was a helping hand, but he's gone for a spin. It looks like has the Ferrari driver, I should say. Now he's got under pressure there from Martin as well. He's got some DRS to try and get himself back up in the fray, but up the order, I should say. Here comes Vessier. He's trying to get himself past Kydell, but no moves being made just yet for the Red Bull driver. But Vessier is on for P4 here, potentially even better as well, which will be a good result there for the Red Bull driver. Siege there in P7 there. He's dropped off the back of Danny for the time being, same for Reflection in P8 as well. And now KD in P9 is got a bit of a quiet patch in this race for the Aston Martin outfit. Yeah, Kiki there, I'm not quite sure what happened to him. He seemed to have gone off at the Casio triangle, but he's gone off to the right hand side, which is not where you'd usually expect drivers to go, to be honest. Even if it is a spin, they usually spin sort of inwards towards the middle of the circuit there, but no, he's managed to get himself back underway, thankfully, and can get himself back in this race now, right behind Serious Mushroom there, and trying to put the pressure on in this race. AC Mortal has got past Martin, who's had a spin at the exit, the hairpin. Unfortunately, Martin's got himself back underway though, but it's not looking looking good indeed for the Alfa Romeo driver. One Alfa Romeo driver at the back and one at the top at the standings, as it stands at the moment on the classification, that is, with the race leader being beat there in P1, and Martin unfortunately down in P16. Unfortunately, he's having a bit of trouble there on that lap, but he's got himself back underway. Potentially, we might see, if people are struggling at the back of the grid, if they're listening, that is as well, they can go onto the soft compound tyres and try and get the fastest lap point at the end of this race, when all the other drivers on the medium compound tyres trying to sort of battle each other out for the points, paying positions. We'll have to wait and see if anybody just decide to make that call and make a pit stop there for the soft compound tyres there and go to try and get that point for the fastest lap if they're outside of the top 10, that is. But we might see somebody in the top 10 as well pit for the fastest lap as well. We never know. Kiki's got himself past Serious Mushroom there up into P11 there for the Ferrari driver, trying to recover there in this race. He's got himself back up into 11th place now, trying to chase down after Bannister. Serious Mushroom there is still clinging on to the back end of the points potentially as well here. It's not all doom and gloom just yet. I think it might be on the cards potentially for a podium. Not podium, sorry. You never know. Maybe a podium for Serious Mushroom as well. We were predicting that. I think Styles predicted that. Unfortunately, Styles is the only one out of this race so far. Kiki picks up a penalty as well. Unfortunately for Kiki, that is not good news as he comes through into Sector 2. As he's off the circuit, is Kiki. That is why he's having an issue there. He's off the circuit, and I think he's gone off in a big way as Martin is coming through as well. Martin's got the place back. I think Kiki now can pit for the soft compound tyres. I think he might have to pit. Has he got wing damage? No, he's not got any damage there, but he's managed to pick up a penalty, unfortunately, for the Ferrari driver, which is not good news. So like I said, I think Kiki and Martin potentially can go onto the soft compound tyres and try and get to the try and get at the end of the race. I think they will be able to do that, but also they're trying to get the fastest lap point to claim at the end of this race as well. So like I said, there's still that potential for those two drivers as well. Out in front there, Beat has extended his gap there to 2.7 seconds now between Acid Masters and himself. He's now looking quite comfortable indeed out in front. Dan Murphy in P3 though. He's going to try and get to the back of Acid Masters at this stage. He's on form. There is Dan Murphy. They're looking to get himself up into P2 on the podium places. That is looking good indeed there potentially for the Aston Martin driver. Vessier is still stuck behind Kydell for the time being. I think Vessier might have stalled out there in his attempts to get himself up into P4. Of course, on the penalties, he will get P4 anyway, I think. Siege is off the circuit again. Siege has had a problem in Sector 1. He's got himself back underway, I think. Well, just about he's got himself back underway, but he's had an issue. He's spun off the circuit there. He's down into P12. Chewy, I think, might come through. No, I think Chewy's a bit too far back, unfortunately, for him. But Siege there getting himself back underway, and he's coming up through Sector 1 now into Sector 2. But unfortunately, Siege that's dropped him outside the points paying positions for the time being as well, which is a big shame indeed there for the Williams driver. He's not having a good time there out there. At this stage of the race, is he unfortunately, as Vessier has made a mistake, I think, somewhere, and now Danny is all over the back of Vessier for P5. It switched. We thought Kydell was going to be under pressure, but now it's Vessier in P5 instead of the McLaren driver of Kydell. But I think potentially we'll see Vessier trying to get himself back in that 1 second window there of Kydell to try and defend from Danny there. Danny's coming at him though into 130R. We go on the dot there for the Mercedes driver. No moves being made just yet, but he's going to have DRS of course available to him down the main straight. Can he get the Casio triangle hooked up nicely so he can get the power down on the exit to try and get himself past the Red Bull there into P5 there. DRS available, of course, down the main straight we go. DRS is is not powerful enough there for the Mercedes, doesn't look like, as Vessier with a great straight line speed keeps hold of P5 for the time being, and that is great stuff indeed there for Vessier. He's got hold of that position and he's kept hold of the position as well. Immortal is back up into the points paying positions as well. Further down the order, he's up into P10 there, just about. He's got himself ahead of Serious Mushroom, but Serious Mushroom, like I said, with the penalties for the drivers ahead of him, potentially could get himself back into the points paying positions later on in this race. It is not over just yet. Martin and Kiki have carried on as well. Kiki, I think, like I was saying, if anybody's listening, then they could potentially go for the fastest lap point at the end of this race, with only now 8.5 laps to go. We are powering through. It's been a long one already, hasn't it? But yellow flags for Kiki, and he's off the circuit again in at the end. Well, it's the end of the S's, isn't it? At the end of the going up the hill there into at the end of Sector 1, sorry. But he's got himself back underway. He just needs to make sure he takes it easier on those tyres there before he can get himself back underway properly. But like I said, he's got himself sorted now. Has the Ferrari driver. I keep calling it red, the red, because I keep seeing the red car and I think it's a Red Bull, but it's not. It's a Ferrari for sure. Like I said, hopefully Kiki can get himself back to the pit lane and go on the soft compound tyres now and get extra point on the board for himself and for his team. There's now a beat starts lap 45 of 53, so there is now 8 laps to go. Once again, Dan Murphy trying to line up a move there for P2, but no moves being made there into turn 1. He's going to have to stick with the Red Bull for another lap or so. AC Malta the fastest lap of the race. He's got himself up into P9. They're past Bannister now, and AC Malta is on the charge here, isn't he? Look at him go. He's back in the car. He's back in the race, and he's looking to get himself back in the back up to the points as well. Not looking too shabby indeed there for Immortal. He gets himself up into P9 there. Oops, sorry. And looking to power on now past Bannister as well. Bannister doing a good job there this race. He didn't have a good time in Australia last week, but he's managed to carry on very nicely and so far in this race, this stage of the race anyway. Good stuff from him. Vintage is trying to get himself past Chewy as well. Martin and Kiki carrying on there, so I'm not sure if Kiki's just decided to just stick at it and get to the end of this race, or if he's going to just bide his time and wait for another couple more laps before pitching to the soft compound tyres. But if I was him, I'd go onto the softs very soon indeed and go for the fastest lap point as well, because that will be of course an extra point indeed regardless of where you finish. So long as you finish the race, you will get that extra point there for the fastest lap. So that is it's not all doom and gloom there if you are down the field. Unfortunately for some it's a bit more difficult than others, but like I said, they've done a good job there so far. All the drivers are still in this race on to lap 46 of 53. Here comes Dan Murphy again. Can he get himself past the Red Bull this time? It's going to be a challenge once again. I think Asim must have done a good job there of defending down the main straight there, just to make sure that he can't get the overspeed there on the Red Bull driver to get himself past up into P2. As Immortal there sets the fastest lap of the race once again. He's really going for it as Immortal there. He's on 12 lap old medium compound tyres, but he's still got the pace in those tyres as you try and get those lap times pumped into the timing boards as he goes up into P9 there. But he's got a 4-second gap there to KD. KD, of course, is one of his rivals there, of course, with the last 2 wins under his belt there for KD. Looking good indeed after recovering there in this race. Same for Immortal, of course, with his issues there with his internet. But KD done a fantastic job. He was a minute behind, remember, at the earliest part in this race. KD picks up another penalty, though. That is bad news indeed. Not good news at all there for KD, unfortunately. Yellow flags. Yellow flags is for Siege again. Siege has had a problem through Sector 1 once again, unfortunately for Siege. And that is another spin there for the Williams driver, which is a big shame there indeed for Siege. Hopefully he can get himself sorted. He has done, but like I said, hopefully he can get himself back to the pit lane as well. Same for Kiki as well. Like I said, these 2 drivers I think are having a bit of a difficult race at this stage, but if they can get that, they can always get that extra point there if they do make their pit stops and go for that extra fastest lap point as well. Currently held by Immortal, of course, on the 12-lap old medium compound tyres. So I think if they threw the soft compound tyres on, they would be able to go a bit faster than those medium compound tyres, I would imagine. As you can usually expect the delta to be about 6/10 in the favour of the soft compound tyres, don't you? So, like I said, hopefully, like I said, if Siege or Kiki can hear me, they can go onto the soft compound tyres. As Danny picks up a penalty there, unfortunately for Danny, Danny's off the circuit. Danny's had a problem there at the exit of the Casio Triangle. He's got himself back underway, but he's lost out to KD and Reflection now. Down into P8 is the Mercedes driver. He's now got he's not got Immortal behind him. He is behind him, but he's behind him by 2.4 seconds, so he's not got to worry about him too much. But there, Danny having an issue there on the exit of the Casio Triangle. Unfortunately, he's got himself back underway though. And now can he keep himself within that window there of KD and Reflection. Chewy has been passed by Vintage up into P12 there for the Williams driver. Good stuff indeed, good move indeed for Vintage as well. Martin's carrying on as well. Siege and Kiki carrying on at this stage also. But like I was saying, I think there could be some pit stops later on in this race for the soft compound tyres for the drivers outside of the top 10 there onto the faster soft compound tyre as well. KD picking up the 6-second penalty. Have a look at the penalty situation now as well. Kaidel has got three. KD on 6 seconds, Danny on 3 seconds as well. We just picked that up unfortunately for Danny there at the end of the last lap there. Siege on 3 seconds as well as Kiki on 3 as well. So that is the penalty situation there for everybody. Everybody on medium compound tyres at this stage as well. But like I was saying, I think there might be some late pit stops there for the drivers outside the top 10 there to get that extra fastest lap point for themselves and the team as well. But for the race leader at this stage, he's not worried about that at all at the moment. He's as Siege has been passed by Kiki, has he? Siege has been passed by Kiki. Yeah, I don't know if Siege is in the car even, to be honest. It seems like he's not at the moment, so unfortunately I'm not quite sure what's happening to Siege. He's having a few troubles there in this race. Hopefully he can get himself sorted, and like I said, make a stop there for the soft compound tyres, at least get himself some an extra point in this race, even if it's not gone to plan so far. But beat there, it's going to plan for him so far. We're on to lap 48 of 53. We've got 5 laps to go. No, we haven't. We've got 5.5 laps to go now. With this, we're on lap 49. We'll have 5 laps to go. It's been one hell of a race so far. Like I said, my voice is going if you can't tell. But Dan Murphy, they're still stuck behind Acid Masters there for P3. He wants to get himself past the Red Bull as soon as he can, but that Red Bull is putting up a stern defence indeed. Vessier, has got himself a battle there with Reflection, KD, and now Danny has joined the party. Immortal has joined the party as well. Down to P9 there is this battle for P5, and I think there's going to be a few moves trying to be lined up there for the drivers around Vessier there for that P5 position potentially, as well as here comes Reflection now around Spoon Curve, and he's trying to get himself in the prime spot there as they go down the back straight towards 130R. Can he make the move before 130R? It looks like he's putting the ERS on there. He's putting the power on. Now he's trying to get himself past the Red Bull. He's being pushed wide there by Vessier, which is not good. He's got himself through anyway. There's just enough room left there for a McLaren, and now up into P5 goes the McLaren driver there. Now Vessier's going to have the DRS there to defend, or not to defend, well, he's going to defend from the drivers behind, but try and attack there the McLaren, get the position back there for Vessier. Here he comes down the main straight. He's already got the move, or he's already got alongside, he's already back past is Vessier there. So Reflection there making the move early down towards 130R, didn't work out from there. Vessier keeps hold of P5 in the long run as we're on to lap 49 there of 53. 5 laps to go for the end, to the end of this race. What a race it's been so far. Well, I mean, like I said, my voice is going, so as you can tell. But Reflection, they're doing a great job there, battling away with Vessier. KD is sticking with this one as well as Danny, and now Immortal has joined the fray. Bannister clinging on to that last points paying position at this time of the race as well. And like I said, for penalties ahead of him, I should say, potentially he can get himself back in this one later on in this race as well. We'll have to find out, as up the top of the order there, we've still got a 5.5 second gap between the Alfa Romeo as Reflection, and what's happened here? KD's off the circuit. KD's had a problem. Danny's up into P6. Reflection's up into P5. Vessier's dropped down the order. I'm not sure if KD had a problem there. KD's gone off the circuit as well. We'll have to have a look at that. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Vessier dropping down the order, but he's going to have to try and fight back there. Mortal now all over the back of him as well, but I'm not quite sure what happened between the two drivers there. I think Vessier and KD might have had an issue there, but I don't think they were right together. I think it was Reflection behind Vessier and then KD in P7. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there to the Red Bull driver. Here comes Immortal there around the outside, I should say, into the Casio triangle. He's gone deep on the brakes. Vessier's tried to turn in, but there's an AlphaTauri right there, so he can't make any moves just yet. Unfortunately, there's a Mortal there going off the circuit there to let the Red Bull back through, but he's got the move done this time. I think he's going to be squeezed there by the Red Bull driver, but he's got the move done nonetheless. Has the AlphaTauri driver up into P7 for another recovery drive indeed for AC Immortal. Bannister picks up a 3-second penalty. That is good news for KD, because KD was under pressure there from losing that P10 position, and that is actually good news indeed for Serious Mushroom there if he can cling on to the back of these drivers here as well, because he could be within realms of a points paying position. Here comes Martin on the inside of Chewy. Chewy's dropped down to P14, unfortunately for Chewy there, but Martin there up into P13 after recovering in this race, having a difficult time there was Chewy, and was Martin, I suppose, at some stages as well, so they got themselves back underway. For Serious Mushroom, this is great news, and potentially a P9 on the cards as it stands at the moment. We're on to lap 50 of 53, and we've now got 3.5 laps to go. Dan Murphy is putting the pressure on to Acid Masters. The gap is extended to 6.2 seconds out in front. Let's have a look and see what the drivers can do now as they come down the back straight once again towards 130R. The ERS lights are flashing for both cars. They're running out of battery there, but now into 130R we go. It's going to be late on the brakes indeed, is it? Or is it going to be a timed move there down the main straight through the Casio triangle? Once again we go. The Red Bull followed by the Aston Martin. We've seen that before in real life. Now down onto the main straight we go. DRS available there for the Aston Martin once again, and here comes Dan Murphy there. Can he make a move there? There's ERS, and there's enough ERS there on board the Red Bull there to defend there from Dan Murphy, though. On to lap 51 of 53. That is, we've got 2 and a bit laps to go now. As Danny there, sorry, slotting himself in behind Reflection for the time being, trying to get himself past, but I don't think he's got the capabilities just yet to get himself through with the ERS not in his favour there. Immortal there behind him as well. Vessier, they're going to try and cling on to the back of this pack, but he's being passed by Immortal and he's losing time there. He's losing time there. Is Vessier. KD's on the back of him now as well. KD's got a 6 second penalty there, so I think that is not good news there for KD, unfortunately. Picks up another penalty, unfortunately, for just KD as well. That is oh dear, I've been kicked out. Oh dear. Bear me 1 second. Hopefully I can get myself back in the game very quickly. Fingers crossed I can just jump in from the old invite. There's not a communicating with services error, is there? This is not good. Yeah, there we go. Joining session. Hopefully we can get ourselves back in now. Yeah, we get it. We're communicating with the online services. We know we can just do that in your own time then. Oh, God. Sorry about this, guys. We'll get ourselves back into the race, hopefully in the short term. But at the moment, it seems like it's taking forever to get ourselves back in completely. Not quite sure what's going on here. We're just sitting at the menus now, unfortunately, which is a big shame. Yeah, sorry about this. Let me just restart the game, I think, and we'll come back to that. Fingers crossed it's not an error for the lobby and it's just myself in the background trying to do the commentary, but we'll get ourselves loaded in hopefully and back into the session before the checkered flag falls. Fingers crossed that is anyway. It seems like it's taking forever just to communicate with online services though for some reason, and like I said, we don't need to worry about that. We've communicated with the services already, thanks. But there we go. Now hopefully I can get ourselves back into the lobby and we can get ourselves back into the commentary box, I suppose you could say. As we join the session now, we're on to lap 52 or 53. We are back in the lobby, thankfully. So hopefully we can load ourselves back in and we'll be okay to resume. Hopefully nobody else has had any issues there, as just me, fingers crossed as well, with the drivers who are obviously taking part in this race. Yes, I want to be in spectator mode. Vessier picks up a penalty, unfortunately for Vessier. That is not good news. Let's have a look at the penalty situation there for the drivers as well. We're on to lap 53 as Beat has just started the final lap of this race. Dan Murphy there trying to line up a move once again down the main straight. Can he get himself sorted and get himself up into P2 there ahead of Acid Master? But I think Acid Master's done a great job of defending there his position there. He's got himself a nice comfortable P2 potentially. Kaidel there in P4 has dropped off back. AC Models up into P5 though. He's got himself past Reflection now, and he's got himself past Danny further up. Well, whilst I wasn't in the session, unfortunately, which is good. But now that I'm back in, I can at least watch the final lap. But Reflection there dropping down to P6 there, of course, with the penalty situation. He might be able to get himself past his teammate later on in this race. Danny there with 3 seconds as well. Vessier just saw pick up a penalty as we've rejoined the session. So he won't be able to make any places up, I don't think, but he won't lose any places as it stands as well. KD there with 9 seconds of penalties. He might be able to cling on to the points just about. We'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds. Serious Mushroom there doing a good job there, sticking with Bannister, and that will get himself into the points, I would imagine, which is good news indeed for Serious Mushroom there. We'll still get some points on the board for the Haas team as well. Blimey, Kiki there sets the fastest lap of the race. Good stuff indeed from Kiki. Well done to him as well for cracking on in this race. And here comes Siege though. Can Siege usurp him there for the fastest lap point? He has done so far on lap 52 as well. Great stuff indeed. Serious Mushroom and Bannister. Bannister's off the circuit. Is he? No, he's been passed by Serious Mushroom, which is I'm not sure what happened there, but must have had a loss of traction there out of the hairpin corner. We've seen a few drivers there struggling in this race. Let's go back to the race leader. The race leader coming round the final corner to win the Japanese Grand Prix for the first time ever. It is Beat there on the top step of the podium. Fantastic race indeed from the Alfa Romeo driver. He played it to precision there with a fantastic race indeed, and well-deserved win there for the Alfa Romeo outfit as well. Good stuff from him as well. Immortal there sets the fastest lap of the race on the last lap as well. Acid Masters in P2 with a great drive indeed for the Red Bull outfit as well. Fantastic stuff from him as well. Really well-deserved as well. Good stuff. Dan Murphy in P3 there with a podium. He couldn't get himself past Acid Master there with the great defence there from the Red Bull, but nonetheless a podium there for the Aston Martin drivers. Good stuff indeed from him. Kaidel did cling on to P4 in the end. Unfortunately for Kaidel, the pole sitter there, he couldn't hold on to the podium places. Immortal there in P5 after being out of the race for a few laps there as well. Has got himself back up in this race. Reflection in P6. Danny in P7. Vessia there did get himself P8 in the end. Serious Mushroom did get some points in P9. KD did get a point as well after a horrible race in P10. Bannister in P11. Vintage in P12. And Martin in P13. Chewy in P14. Then we've got Kiki, who's coming up to the line now. Can he get himself a fastest lap point? He can. No, he can't, unfortunately, Kiki. He stays P15. Let's have a look and see what Siege can do. Siege is down on his time, but he's going to come across the line very soon indeed to finish off in P16. But what a race that has been indeed for the Japanese Grand Prix. We'll have to look at the classifications very quickly indeed as well, but fantastic stuff. And even the 16 drivers who managed to get to the finish line there, unfortunately we had one retirement there, which was Styles, but that was on lap 1 even indeed, so there was no retirements from lap 1 onwards. But what a race indeed from all the drivers who took part. Unfortunately, there were some drivers who had a bit more luck than others, of course, but nonetheless, well done for sticking at it for all the drivers who finished that race, and nothing to complain about from my point of view. Really good racing from all the drivers there who took part. Unfortunately, it was just me who lagged out, who was the problem. So that was you can blame me for being useless, or you can blame my my internet, I suppose you could say. But it seems to be all right for the time being. There is the podium drivers there with Beat there on top step. Fantastic result there from the race winner there. First time race winner as well in ALR. Good stuff from him as well. We've got Acid Masters there back on the podium after a bit of a sabbatical indeed for the Red Bull driver as well. And Dan Murphy there joining in P3 for the final podium place. But great stuff indeed there from all the drivers in this race. I will have to wait and see if they're going to be joining us there for the podium, for the podium interviews, of course, in just a jiffy as well. But there is the classification there for the race. For this race in the Japanese Grand Prix. Beat there is your race winner there from P4 on the grid. Acid Masters there from P6 in P2. Dan Murphy in P3 there from P15. Kaido from the pole position had a bit of a struggle there after the first stint. He just couldn't get the race back underway there and finished P4, unfortunately for him. Immortal there in P5 after a great recovery drive. Reflection in P6. Danny there in P7 as well, moving on from his good points there in the last race as well to get some more points for the Mercedes team. Messier there returning into the points pay positions as well in P8. Serious Mushroom in P9. KD in P10. Just outside the points we've got Bannister, Vintage, Martin, Chewy, Kiki as well, and Siege as well. Unfortunately for Siege there, and Kiki not having a good race there, and Styles there was the only DNF, like I said, of this Japanese Grand Prix. Right then, I think we'll have to have a look and see if any of the drivers are going to join us for the podium interviews. Bear with us 1 second. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to happen or not. We'll have to find out. Bear with me 1 second as I'll try and get ourselves, get myself sorted. I need to get myself in the party first, don't I? Because that is what I need to do, as I've been commentating on my own in commentating on my own in this party itself. But it doesn't look like anybody's joining us just yet. So I think we'll call it there, to be fair, because we don't want to stick around all night. But yeah, what a race indeed there for all the drivers there who've taken part tonight. Thank you very much for everybody who did put on a good show there in the Suzuka circuit tonight. Very good stuff indeed. Wonderful stuff from all the drivers who took part. But we'll be back, of course, in 2 weeks' time there for the 100% League. We have a break week in ALR next week, so Sunday for gold, Monday for silver, and Tuesday for bronze. We'll all be on a break next week for the Easter holidays. So if you're celebrating Easter, have a good time. I hope you enjoy the holidays. If you're not celebrating Easter, I hope you have a nice long weekend and just relax and chill out. And of course, then we'll be back, of course, for gold. I think it's on the 16th of April there in 2 weeks' time, and then we'll be back for, of course, the silver and bronze races as well. And then, of course, 100% League will be back in 2 weeks' time as well. Which will be at the USA, I think, the Circuit of the Americas. So stay tuned for that. Of course, gold, silver, and bronze will be racing at Suzuka as well. So it's a bit of a practice run, some of these races for the drivers, but we'll hopefully see some more action coming up in just over 2 weeks' time, or just under 2 weeks' time, I should say,